And like that, we back, fellas. It is your favorite fence sitting moderator, Q. With another episode of the To Be Fair show, not To Be Fair show, Unpacked. Hosted by the To Be Fair show and
the G Shit podcast.
And like that, we're back with another great episode. I think this would be a really interesting one. It's a popular topic, especially when it comes down to these debates. And kind of one of those, for some people, one issue that can swing them either way. We're talking about the immigration crisis, the migrant crisis, what's the other one? The southern border crisis. They put a lot of crises on it, but nonetheless, we're gonna kind of hop into it and talk about its impact on the Black community. But before then, I love for the panel, to introduce themselves. G.
What's good, everybody? Appreciate y'all joining. It's G, host of the G Shit podcast. Make sure y'all check that out. We focus on family, friends, finances, freedom in our future, and fuck everything else. You can check that out wherever you get your podcast at GSHPOD. Hi.
All right, below.
What up,
Johnny?
what up?
Talk to him.
It's your boy Johnny P. 1/3 of the To Be Fair show. Catch us every Sunday 4:30. We unpack some things there. We come here and unpack them. Definitely looking forward to another fruitful discussion, though. Appreciate y'all for having me.
Charlotte legend, talk to him.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Happy to be back, man. A Black, can follow me at Mayor of Charlotte right there on the screen. And yeah, let's get it.
All right, so again, we have been at minimum an FBA friendly podcast. And with that said, there has been some news that's broke out in Cali. Everybody know that they had the reparations task force, maybe I think it was, and they came up with their verdict, and now that verdict has met a verdict. I'm gonna push play on this meme, and then we can kind of get into the conversation.
The speaker needs to bring the bills up now. These are their bills. They have their names on the bills. They killing their own bills because they scared of the government. Now, listen, they gonna see this and they gonna get mad at us. They killing their own bills, then they gonna get mad at us. They killing their own bills and they scared of the government. We don't care.
We need to
bring the goddamn bills up now.
Government needs to understand that the world is watching California, and it's going to have a direct impact on your friend Kamala Harris, who's running for president. This is going to have a direct impact. So pull up the bills now, vote on them, and sign them.
We have
We've
to
been
vote.
waiting for over 400 years.
All right, so again, just a little backdrop to it. The Black Caucus decided not to go along with the reparation or presenting the reparations to the I forget exactly what it was, in which, from what it sounded like, they was going to have the opportunity to pass it, and it was going to have to get either passed or vetoed at Gavin Newsom. But to the request, pretty much, of Gavin Newsom, he told him not to allow it to happen. Actually, a Caucasian Republican attempted to present it, but he was blocked. Fellas, what is your thoughts? Hey, I think everybody muted. Johnny, you muted, and G, you muted.
You know who the people want to hear from. But he keep going over the joint. You know who the people want to hear from, man. But like, let's like, so just so that we understand it correct.
Mm-hmm.
there was a black caucus that thought something was going to get passed, and like last minute they didn't pass it through per request of Governor Newsom, basically, right, to appease him. I mean, look, I think it just demonstrates why I don't root for any of these parties, because neither of these parties are really going to be at the forefront of a reparations movement. Not the Democratic Party, not the Republican Party. And when they have opportunities to kind of demonstrate that they are with such a movement, you know, things like this happen. It gets put on the back burner. It never gets prioritized. So I think it's just another unfortunate circumstance of us seeing clearly how much these entities care about our community, but yet we're still, come November time, that state, especially California, being so actually a lot of conservatives in California as well, but it tends to vote blue. They're going to carry Kamala to victory in that state with ease. You know what I'm saying? Even though their governor Gavin Newsom, who was considered for VP at one point, essentially shut this down. So I just think it's another example of how they don't care about us, like MJ said.
And which, again, just to kind of continue on, I guess, with context of it, I did think it was fairly interesting that Gavin Newsom threw pretty much both sides to the, I guess, a double-edged sword on it, in him protecting his political career, where he wants to run for president. So in his mind, he can't specifically accept the bill, but he's inside a blue state, so he can't veto the bill. So he had to make sure it never reached his desk, in which I thought, like, its politics played out as perfectly as it could. Johnny, thoughts?
I mean, it just goes to kind of prove a lot of the things we've been saying over the last couple months about the Democrats and, you know, what they are willing or how much they're willing to help us at their own expense. So, I mean, it's not. I never really took it serious anyway, being that it was just California. It didn't make a lot of sense, but, you know, I'm not surprised.
Hey, Black.
Yeah, I was just initially speechless because it's like, on one hand, I don't want to bash the people. I respect them for putting their time and effort and to trying to do things the right way, out a legal way, and it's working in our favor. But it seemed like, you know, every time we get close, or it just always some bullshit when it comes to us, because we don't really be having no real leverage at the end of the day. It's like, we're not gonna do it for you, even though you did all of this, and what you gonna do about it? Go yell, you go scream, go get tired, you know, go home. And so I feel bad, but it's like Johnny, like we've been saying, people have been saying this. It's like, this might not be the route of asking. They didn't ask for none of the power that they have, and although they owe us, that don't mean that they're gonna just give it. You know, now you're going through the legal processes, you're doing the right thing, you're showing the research, you're taking it to the judicial system, and they still finding ways to finesse you.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're sitting there yelling, angry, you know, in the court hall, the media eating it up. But it's like, what are we really doing? Why are we expecting to like actually give you something when you don't got no real power if you do get mad? But
Got you. Speaking of reparations, FBA's own, we have Trey in the building. If I'm not mistaken, I think he did say last week reparations might not be on the table yet, or something like that.
No, I didn't say that, and I played it back, and I said it.
I got the clip loaded up right now.
No, I'll play it back and listen. I said it's not on the table yet.
That's what I just said.
But
those are my exact words.
You said for this election. So I'm saying it's not on the table for this election yet. But there's still time. Like, if you probably weren't expecting to see what we just saw in California, and that's what happens when brothers get on code. And if we keep that same energy, if we have this mentality of it's not going to happen, we don't have the power, all this defeatist type of BS, then you're right, it's not on the table. But if we have the California type of energy, then yes, it is on the table. But
what's the California type of energy,
though? I was just
about
to ask that. I think the Black caucus kind of like turned as bad of a coon card as you could. I think that we don't need that energy actually.
Nah, I think I'm not talking about the energy of the Black Caucus. I'm talking about the energy of the grassroots. And everything that we've ever done is from the grassroots. Even if you go back to the civil rights and also even back to the Civil War, the grassroots. I mean the Boule and the Congressional Black Caucus. I think they exposed themselves for the House Negroes that they are, and that's why I think this is a good thing because it put them on the spot. Like I think they made that that reparations bill to study it just to say they were doing anything, even though they had no plan of doing anything about it. But the grassroots really forced their hand. And a lot of good things I can say about that bill they put forward is they got the lineage intact. Like they made, because the CBC was trying to make it for all Africans and all Black people, but the grassroots said it had to be lineage based. So they had to fight them there. Earlier, they fought back because the NAACP, I forgot, Amos something, Kamala Harris's minister, he got like a loan, some money from Wells Fargo. Y'all can look this up and type his name in, Amos and Wells Fargo, and they paid him some money, and he crashed the bill before. So they're showing a lot of resilience. And then I think when they were protesting, that was the last day before, like in that congressional session, where they had to get it done. So they really held their feet to the fire. And one of the craziest clips I saw of that whole thing was an elderly gentleman from the Congressional Black Caucus. He saw them cheering and he started like mocking them.
Yeah, he was walking down like that.
Yeah. So that's why I think this is good. It didn't get the outcome we wanted, but we knew it was going to be a fight. But I don't want to have, I think it's important that we don't have this mentality of saying things like, we don't have the power, we can't do it yet, because you speak stuff like that into reality versus getting behind this and looking at the good that came out of it, learning from that, putting it to good use, and then putting your best foot forward on that. Like, we can't have this defeatist mentality, man. There's a lot of good takeaways from this.
I don't think it's a defeatist mentality. Like,
to say we don't have the power?
No, because to say we haven't been trying for reparations, for decades in different ways. It's not, if it was the first time, the first attempt, and somebody's out there saying, "Oh, it's not going to work," then maybe. But then it's more of a realist mentality when you have decades of history showing Black people particularly trying to get reparations outside of fucking getting syphilis that are coming to you. Every time you get close to the table with anything, they shift it. So eventually it becomes like, what's a logical mentality, not defeatist. It's like, we want it, we're owed it, but they're not giving it. And we're not the first generation or the first groups to be formed to really fight for it. It just comes in different forms and different generations. But the reparations talk, our fight is not new. It's just new iterations. In California, it's a new iteration of it continually get denied in a new form. And that's not defeatist. That's acknowledging like the reality of this shit is not working. They're not going to give you nothing because they don't fucking have to. That's not defeatist. That's reality because they haven't.
Well, I'll have a challenge that, and I'd say it's interesting that you have faith in Pan-Africanism, even though they have all these civil wars over there, they can't get along with anything, but you have hope that maybe through uniting with Africa, we'll make some progress. But you don't have hope that we'll be able to get what we are owed, even though we have demonstrated multiple times throughout history that through resilience and persistence, we've been able to get what we need. Because there were people that said we would never end Jim Crow. They said we would never get out the plantation. And now people are saying we'll never get reparations. But I think that we can do anything we put our minds to. But we can't do any of that unless we're on the same page and we believe that we can. That's the first step, honestly.
You said it right there, on the same page. And it's like, that's meshing the both mentalities. It's getting the leverage from international networking and being Pan-African.
No, we don't need nothing international. What do we need international, bro? Like, that don't even make any. Like, we think if Africa's going to help us, they would have sent some slave ships. They've never done anything to help us.
From the government, we're getting crumbs and concessions and small things, but really no astronomical gap of our real improvement since fucking deconstruction. Like, we have the comfort and the illusion of it, and we're not getting beaten or raped at high numbers, But as far as what we own and what we influence outside of culture, we're in the same position. So why not? What is
Jim Crow
from trying to get some leverage from international relations behind us and demanding something and saying that we can change the shift in international markets if you don't go by our demands. And we can't do that because we're not building the relationships with these countries and building trust on the same page that you talk about. But you gotta have power. That's why these other minority groups, they get reparations here. That's why the Japanese and the internment camps got Japan. And they also fucking Nakasami them, but they still got Japan at the end of the day. And some people that will come for them. Anybody that got somebody that will come and save them, they get a little something.
Bro, Africa's not gonna save us. Like, you can hang that up like now. Like they sold us here to begin with. And they what have they ever done to help us? Like, ever?
That's the defeatist mentality.
They sold us here, Trey.
So what?
They sold us here,
bro. Yes. The slave trade would not have been possible without the help for the tribes that were slaveholders rounding them up. The white people weren't in there getting them by themselves. They had people in Ghana.
I think he was using that as a reference to the native native black theory.
No, I never said there was no slave trade. I just said that there were also black people in America as well.
You said the majority of black people in America were native, though, right?
Yeah, I would say that as well. Yes, but there was still a slave trade. Most of the people in the slave trade didn't go to America, though. So my point is, at the end of the day, Africans were still complicit in the slave trade. Like, they have never done anything to help us. If anything, we have done way more to help them than they've done to help us. Even if you look at South Africa and their movement that they had there, we were fighting for that. We fought for them to be able to come over here and benefit from the rights that they get. They get Juneteenth scholarships. They get affirmative action. They get all this stuff that our elders.
No, nobody get affirmative action no more. It's done. It's done. Nobody get that no more.
And the same way you speak on Africans is how white people speak on black people. They talk about what you get, what you got, and why.
Wait. Well, you're saying that me saying that Africans benefit from black Americans fighting for civil rights is the same as a white person saying, "What about me?"
Americans benefit from enslavement and being around.
But what do we get from Africans? White people got a lot from us. What do we get from Africans if we're going to make this comparison?
It's not what we get. We are that.
No, but you're comparing us to white people, and then white people benefited from us. How did Africans benefit? How did we benefit from Africans?
Comparing your rhetoric on how you perceptualize Africa the same way white people talk about black people, and how you should have this.
What did I say about Africans other than they were complicit in the slave trade, which is true? And how is that comparable to?
Based on their manipulation and their ignorance of what was truly going on when the waters crossed. When people found out, when people turned around ships and got back, and there was wars, there was rebellions about this shit. They wasn't just sitting there shaking hands. Like, yeah, people traded guns and they traded rum and they traded fucking raw materials because they wanted power over rival chieftain tribes. They had no idea people was coming and getting dehumanized and shit.
That's not true, bro. I have a book I'll send you to read, and it talks about the African tribes there. They had heads on pikes. They created wars just to slave people up there. They were running the what they call the dungeons there. They had women that they're called in the book Daughters of the Trade. They were complicit for centuries. This whole myth that it was all white people's fault.
It wasn't complicit. Like they went inside, you infiltrate just like the CIA does today, and they find dynamics. Somebody learns a language. They pit somebody against each other that's already against each other. And then they have a whole larger plan looming of a transatlantic slave trade that these people have no idea. They're already warring tribes because they're not monolithic. People act like, oh, they were just supposed to be a utopia. They were already fighting. Yeah, like every fucking tribe and in China and Asia and India, like that's what they do. They fight.
Look at Europe. Look at all them white folk fighting.
White people came up in there.
World War.
But that's not to say that they're complicit and to know like what's going on. When people get to the U.S. and they get to Brazil and they get to Haiti and Dominican Republic, they don't know what's going on. They trading bodies because they've been had forms of slavery.
Hey, fellas, really quick. G, before you hop in, again, we're back. This is season 2. This is an impromptu FBA Pan-African conversation. Make sure that y'all hit the like. Make sure that y'all drop a comment. Hit a super chat. And we're gonna try and like keep this part of it at least like 5 minutes and under, but it seems like we're kind of getting into some weeds. I love it. G and then Trey, I think that
I just want to swing it back over to the original conversation, because we kind of went on a tangent there, which I'm all for. But like going back to like the original point of what happened in California, what does that mean for our people and it being like realistically attainable? I think it highlights so a couple of things. One, we talk about how we need to vote and put the right people in position so that our voices are heard and legislation can get passed. Well, here's a situation where the Black caucus of that state who represents their constituents went against their constituents. And why did they go against their constituents? The people who voted them in, right? They ended up doing that because their boss, essentially the governor, Gavin Newsom, he didn't want to be the one to veto the bill himself. So he went to his Black caucus to say, hey, I need y'all to make sure this don't even reach my desk because I can't afford to be the one to shut this down. So y'all got to stop it from even happening. And so for me, that is a very unfortunate like demonstration of why this system is so like why voting ain't enough. Because even if you put these quote unquote more local politicians in power and they get the budget, like California still has money budgeted to study reparations and so forth. But when it was time to, actually move the needle, they have done some things in the name of reparations, like land grabs that was stolen, trying to get it back to the original families and stuff like that. But it's very like marginal at best, nothing wide sweeping. So it's like you got the people in there, they come up with the legislation, it's right there, but now they're not pushing it forward. Why? Because of their own careers and egos, because they're in there politicking versus representing the folks that voted them in. So I think that is why reparations is going to be so difficult for us, is because to really make that happen, the type of buy-in we have to have top to bottom, like from state to local to federal, it just don't exist right now, because the those at the say executive level of the government will make sure that everybody under them falls in line and does what's necessary for the movement. Man, it's terrible in my opinion.
Trey, I'm gonna go right to you, but really quickly, shout out Steve, super sticker.
Shout out Steve.
Appreciate it. Usually we give precedence to if you actually put a comment, but nonetheless, shout out to you again. We're streaming on D2B Fair Show and G-ish podcast. Super chats and stickers are available on both sides. Show love to the panel as well. Again, Johnny looked like he want to say something. I'm gonna go to you, Trey. I don't think Johnny got a lot to say, or maybe he do.
I think like two things can be true. Like, I think even if a goal isn't necessarily like quote unquote realistic right now, I think it is important to, like Trey said, there are some good takeaways. I do agree with that, and I think we can, push towards it. Because if you're not working for it, you're never going to get to it. So I do think us fighting back, us trying to hold those people accountable is ultimately going to be for our benefit. But I do think there are other things that, we could probably accomplish first that we should focus on that would directly help Black people. But we can also work on that and not give that up, because I think it's important.
Trey?
Man, I think this whole reparations thing, Black people are afraid of offending white people. And that's the biggest thing we'll have to get past, because even though Native Americans get reparations and all these other groups get reparations, and none of those groups have contributed more than us, we don't bring it up because we're afraid to. And I think that before we are even able to take it to the dominant society, we need some division, because the people who actually push that bill forward, I guarantee you they'll agree with me and they'll probably agree with G, but they will not agree with any Pan-Africanists. They will not agree with any Boule, any fence sitters in general. So I think that that's holding us back. They wouldn't agree with anybody who's defeating us, telling us what we can't do. I think they have to get ran out the paint. If otherwise, we're not going to get any progress. Because I think the people that have been running this all this time are the old heads. And they don't. The people that don't have any revolutionary spirit, like people in the chat talking down on me and my mentality. When I'm like, go ahead, but trying to be positive, we can do it. And you talking down on me, talking about we can't do it. Then, bro, what are you here for? Just don't. You can talk about video games and talk about Africa if you want to talk about Africa so bad, but we talking about reparations. We're not talking about Africa. We're talking about foundational Black Americans, what we deserve here, what we need here, and what we can do. We're not talking about what we can't do, bro. I don't know, bro.
Gotcha. It is a battery and Trey back. We're gonna land with the mayor of Charlotte. Land his plane for us. We can't hear you.
I don't think I see nobody hate Africa this much, probably more than like the Dutch in the 1600s, man. You really hate Africa.
But I don't hate Africa, bro. I just don't. That just don't have nothing to do with reparations. The fact you even bringing Africa up in the reparations conversation makes absolutely no sense to me, bro.
The fact that you don't bring it up,
bro. Do they bring up FBA when they talk about what they got going on in the Caribbean? No.
Do they need to? It's the question.
But we don't need to either, bro. This whole get off Africa's.
What's our most powerful resource that we export as collective?
Our culture.
Okay.
That they all adopt and mimic across the globe. And America's biggest export is our culture, our music, our entertainment, our everything that you know about America, our food, our cuisine, all that stuff, everything. Who owns it? The people that the capitalists own it, yeah. But who creates it? Who's the originator? Who's the source? Who's the plug?
What's our export that gives us any leverage to ask these people for anything?
Bro, what's Africa's export that gives them effort? They don't even own their own resources, and they can't get along to get anything done over there, bro. Like, bro, you making me talk bad about Africa. I don't mean to. The only reason I'm talking bad is I'm disqualifying them as an option for our liberation. Bro, if we have to depend on Africa for our liberation, then we're not going to get anywhere, bro. We got to do for ourselves.
You got to depend on power. That's how anybody.
Africans don't have no power. How are you powerful if you sit on all the resources in the globe and you're still poor?
Nobody who's had power, no empire from the Persians to us has gotten power by asking or by having it gifted. Somebody takes that shit or to create some innovative way, whether it's gunpowder, whether it's the gun, whether it's the jet plane, to fucking take the power.
Did Africans help with Jim Crow? Did they help us get past that? Did they help with these lynchings?
Did the white
get us out of bondage?
For reparations?
No, but you switching the topic. The Africans help with these great achievements that we have. Bro, the answer is no. Africa hasn't. We've done plenty with. Bro, you bringing? I didn't say the white.
Hey, fellas, at least don't speak.
Yeah, y'all got y'all cutting each other off, so y'all got to at least finish your points.
Did you not? But Coach, I mean,
you got. I'm just saying we want to hear the conversation. If y'all just talking over each other, we can't hear word.
But I just have to ask when I bring something up, you don't, you go for like 3 minutes, you don't answer the question, and then you bring a lot of other stuff at the bottom. I'm just asking you like straight up, yes or no. Out of everything we've achieved in America as foundational Black Americans, descendants of freedmen, what has Africa ever done to help us with as many accomplishments? And why do you think that we need them for this now if they haven't helped us before and we've been fine on our own? Like, why are you so fixed on needing Africa as if that's been the
I'm about to say, allow them to answer the question.
Because they are us and we are them. Because our innovations and these things you speak of, a lot of them were inspired through them, through those that came here, that passed certain things down. So we are the same and we are different at the same time. And like, why is that a problem that we are a different culture because of our Black American experience, but we're still them because that's who we came from?
I don't think you saying because we have melanin that we need them for our reparations. Like, what do you mean? Like,
I'm not.
I think you're using the word power in general. But hey, fellas, again, if we end up with some time in the back end, we'll revisit this conversation. Of course, we've did enough panels on this, so I know we can go for a full 3 hours. But want to kind of move us along a little bit, in which I want to hit on a topic that did happen today. If you've been by news, you've probably heard in Georgia there was unfortunately another school shooting. I think it is 4 dead, 30 injured. They have secured the gunman. He was a 14-year-old boy. I'm gonna push play. I think these are interviews from 2 of the students that went to the school. And from there, we can start the conversation.
I heard screaming, and they like unlocked my door, and they came with the flashlight and the guns, and we had to like have our hands up and stuff. And then that's when they took us outside.
Wait, who came with guns? The individuals that were opening fire in the school?
No, not the individuals. The police came, and
Oh,
they
the
got
police
us.
came in. Police came in to save you. Can you describe those tense moments? What that was like?
Like, I don't know. It was just really, it was scary. Like, my heart was kind of racing. I didn't even have my phone or anything, so like I couldn't talk to my mom. I was just kind of scared.
Oh, my bad. I thought I put in a different one where it was this Caucasian lady or student that was speaking about the actual incident. But shout out to that brother for surviving. But nonetheless, again, election season, it's a school shooting. I'm sure there's gonna be conversations around it. What is y'all initial thoughts, reactions, feelings, Johnny?
Well, I mean, first off, condolences to, the families that are affected, the kids, the teachers. It's it's because that's a sad situation, and I think in any of these conversations we have to acknowledge that a lot of times it's human impact on it, and the conversations are gonna go, nuts, but it's gun issue and gun control is what's going to come up, but I think it's more of a mental health and a statement on our society. I'm pro gun, but I'm also pro mental wellness, and I think that's a very, very big missing key when we talk about a lot of this stuff. Is had to be a sick individual to go in there and do that, and gun or not, that sick individual is going to probably hurt somebody.
Gotcha. So, all right, I think I kind of found, maybe this is a clip.
Can't hear none.
Oh, y'all can't? Oh, damn. Let me see if I can wiggle something around really quickly. But nonetheless, can y'all hear now? Still no audio? All right, no worries then. We'll keep trucking. Fellas, thoughts?
Usual suspects.
Why is it always a school? Like, I mean,
If they think they like soft targets, they want to go somebody that they can't hit them back.
But the person responsible was a high school student, right? Like this wasn't.
It was a 14-year-old kid, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Let me try it one more time, and y'all let me know if this works.
Did he ever say anything?
Can y'all hear?
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
No, he never really talked. He was pretty quiet. He wasn't there most times. Either he just didn't come to school or he just would skip class. But even when he would have talked, it was one-word answers or just short statements.
You told me off camera you weren't surprised that he would be the shooter. Why is that?
Just because when you think of like shooters and how they act or things that they do, it's usually the quiet kid, or like that's a stereotype for it to be, and he was the one that fit that description in our class.
See, this is where like I get Johnny's point about mental health, but I think there's also there's a difference between being like mentally ill and not being able to emotionally regulate. Like one doesn't equal the other. And I feel like
No,
and
that's true.
and some of these circumstances, you know what I'm saying, I'm speculating here because I don't know the young person or what happened, whatever the case, but just in working with young people, what I've seen is oftentimes extreme reactions, not because like something's up here is not clicking. It's just that they didn't have a way to process how they were feeling. And the result of that was very, violent or, not a productive way to show up as a citizen. And so I do wonder, like, or just in general, kind of like taking it off of the school in general, like this is one of the reasons why I'm a big proponent of just counseling, therapy, anger management, especially for young boys, because they bottle up so much stuff sometimes, and it's like they don't have healthy ways of processing rejection, not fitting in, just not to excuse anyone's behavior because it's inexcusable, but I do think that we do our youth a disservice by not providing them tools to help regulate emotions at an earlier age, in my opinion.
I agree. But I still think like when your emotions aren't regulated and you go to that extreme, it is a form of sociopath. There's some narcissistic lack of empathy there when you take it to that extreme. People get kids don't regulate their emotion and get in fights. They yell at their parents. They don't go take a big ass gun into a school. But I think it starts with not being able to regulate it. But once it gets to that point, that got to be that's sickness. To be that evil, that's sick.
Anybody else before we wrap it up?
Well, what I was to say about that situation was like I was scrolling and I saw it and I kept scrolling. I had to like catch myself on like how initially I didn't really feel nothing about it. Then I kind of watched a few of the interviews, the one you showed, and I don't know, man. It's like election season, school shooting. We don't know who the person is in this, but they got schoolmates, so nobody's leaked. It just be feeling weird. But then it's like you don't want to be like being a conspiracy theorist and people like lost kids or lost their family at the same time. But it's just I don't know, something seem a little off about the shit. It's be too consistent and we're like hella numb to it for real.
Yeah, I guess one. Oh, go ahead, Trey.
I was like, man, it's just crazy the history of this because, in our great grandparents' generations, they were, massacring towns, and then they've been doing school shootings ever since. So I guess every time that we really saw a lot of that happen, it seemed like because they were in a position where they were kind of losing control. So where I think it's interesting when you have I can't think of another instance of like black crime is usually like poverty based. Like you see people are trying to rob and like gang violence, but it's just like so psychopathic to go like in the suburb where you have a good life. I mean, you're in America, you don't have to deal with all the stuff we have to deal with, but yeah, you'll go harm some innocent people. And then when I think about where does that behavior come from, and it's like just given the history and just the further back you go, the darker it gets. It's like, I mean, it's just like the more things change, the more they really stay the same,
But do y'all remember high school? Like, do you remember high school? Being like 14 Columbine? Years old in high school, this is not like an easy time for young people. Like, if you like, do you remember? Like, I don't know. I grew up in a city like Durham. High school was harsh, bro. Like, you kind of were like you had to learn to swim with sharks, essentially. Like, otherwise you would end up lunch meat, and like we don't know what this kid's life was like in wherever his home life. We don't know anything about his background, at least as of today. So I wouldn't assume that he has a good life, a bad life. But like they said, he's not engaged in school. He's not like he's quiet, one word answers. Like they're describing him as a certain way. I wouldn't say that that's typically the behavior of somebody who's in a healthy environment and good spirits. Like, we don't know how he's treated at school by some of his teachers, even classmates. Like, when you that quiet person, you kind of get the brunt of a lot of like nonsense, and it even comes sometimes from the teachers in the school, low key. So it's just, we don't really know what was going on inside those walls.
Right. I think that Trey might be speaking like culturally to the idea that those same characters might, or more than likely, exist inside black schools as well as white schools. But it seems that to not. I thought you were saying like it not.
No, I think no. I think you were getting there. My bad.
Yeah, like a culturally relevant thing to ever hear black school shooter, and how that's not something, no matter how bad, how harsh, how much you had to swim with the sharks, is a thing that naturally goes to the mind of like a black student for some reason. But it does seem to be something that does happen inside affluent neighborhoods in schools that are, unfortunately predominantly Caucasian.
Yes.
Is that a fair representation?
Yes. Now, but I'll add that if a black person does do that, they're going to go after the bully. They're not going to like try to get everybody that was in their way. So like this, like going into an elementary school and,
I just don't know any examples of that to say who they would go after.
Like a bully?
A black school shooting.
I can think of true. Like not like a mass shooting, but a black.
But that's what makes these specific though.
Oh yeah.
Like bringing guns to school, I think that.
Yeah, I know it's guns. It like
everybody's like we'll be lying if we But like I don't know of any in history of like
niggas got guns
school shooting, even though, like I said, there's so many horrible stereotypes that are thrown on urban schools, all the way down to like the average urban school you have to walk through metal detectors just to get into the school.
Oh shoot! So we're talking about Black America, right? Because I can tell you all types of school shootings on the continent, and like kidnapping schools full of little girls, all kind of mess like that.
All right. What do you define?
Black? Are you talking about FBA? Or are you talking about black?
I was going by like the way you usually define black, but now that I know that your black completely includes the diaspora.
I'm going by your definitions. Yeah, because you can't think of any black examples. So I was trying to think outside the box. So I can't think of any with FBAs. But I can tell you plenty like abroad with the people that we need to help us with reparations, apparently.
That boy.
Okay. Anybody want to land the plane, or has everybody kind of hit their points?
Oh, the last thing, man, I hope they don't use this to like disarm folks or do anything that is, I understand maybe we don't need to have like army guns, just easily available. But at the same time, I would hate to see a situation where, as Black Americans, like the official sponsor of Black empowerment is the Second Amendment. Like every time that we had a massacre and or a race war where they would deliberately unarmed us and the other side was armed, and every time when we prevailed, it was the other way around. So I think a lot of times Black people get into this Second Amendment thing in a very liberal perspective, but we have to understand that like a lot of Black kids, they're not out there at the gun range the way other people are. So we need to be a little bit more mindful of being ready. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. All right, so I guess we can kind of start migrating our way to the topic at hand.
I see what you did there.
Hey,
that one was for Johnny right there. That was for Johnny. But no, so as we kind of move on to the conversation about the immigration crisis or the migrant crisis that we hear about often, I guess it's probably a couple baseline questions that'll lead us all the way down the line to like our feelings about its impact with Black people and what we should do. So I guess I'll start out with this. Do y'all in general believe in the concept of asylum and slash like refugee. Of course, there is international law that stipulates certain things, but in general, what is your thoughts on like the whole asylum slash refugee concept?
I mean, I don't think it's I think if you do too much of that, it's going to be detrimental to the, especially we're talking about voting, and we're trying to dial up. We're trying to focus our power, and if you're bringing in a bunch of people who like quote unquote off code, it's
They
only
can't vote though.
Yeah, yet, and they can vote. They're getting them IDs. I can say that for later, but
not. I mean, from what I've been seeing is a lot of them are getting, and then there's a
Right.
fast track process for them to be able to get a lot of these privileges and rights as citizens, and I think that could be a very
Well, I guess you have to send
detrimental thing.
me that. I haven't seen that part.
I mean, I'll say this: we've just seen the Venezuelans in Colorado and Chicago.
You're jumping ahead a little bit.
Okay,
But asylum, like the general concept of asylum. Let me see. International law. What it does say, I kind of have it written down. The right to seek asylum. Seeking asylum is a human right, and every person in the world has the right to apply for asylum if they are fleeing conflict and persecution. They must not be expelled or returned to situations where their lives or freedoms would be in danger. Like that's the general concept of that is the international stance on asylum. Of course, America right now, the border policy speaks to the idea that it's not really too much of a policy. If you make it on American soil and you say a couple right words, you get asylum.
Not exactly though. Not exactly. They do have to go through like an official process, but it's a very long ass process till it's like officially completed. And then while the process is going on, they're getting resources.
Well, and that's so maybe we're kind of like speaking to the same concept.
Yeah.
Why they end up staying in America waiting trial, and that's what you're speaking to.
Yeah.
But when they get caught, there's a couple questions that they get asked, and if you can convince them that you are fleeing or in danger or whatever, they'll kind of like allow you the option, or pretty much allow you the option to stay in America while you await trial. That's kind of the current policy as it exists past the border.
Right, and even not only that, if you don't have to show up to your court date, and there's even situations like the U1 visa where, like, remember when they're doing all that Stop Asian Hate, and then a person would get harmed. If you get that, allows you to apply for a U1 visa, so you're allowed to stay here while you're awaiting that trial. So that kind of makes a lot of those situations seem to be suspect, because it's an easy way to kind of scam the system. But what I was going to say is that they allow people to commit crimes and they're not allowed to report them. So we're
going to build up the sanctuary cities, because that's kind of as we kind of. So what I'd like to do is unpack pretty much why New York, Chicago, DC, Denver are the way they are right now, and where there are changeable things, and why there's certain parts where people's hands are behind their back. So yes, I do want to build up to that. But before we get there, Black, thoughts?
It's like, I mean, you gotta have balance with it. I feel like you can't let everybody in, but we should have a reasonable protocol to let some people in, and I feel like they should maybe be allowed to only go to certain states that are more dense or less populated as well. So it's not like you are coming in infecting somebody's jobs or whatever.
Send them to Idaho.
Send them send them where Idaho. Nobody out there, and let them build those areas up and build their communities up. If we got the space for it, I feel like the issue they'll come into already congested. The
But that's
tropical
the
cities, and then there
Yeah,
are
that's partially it.
that's
Texas
political though.
governor is doing like a very intentional thing with that as well.
Well, a
Yeah,
lot of
he had to.
a lot of the
So,
less populated places, they're not allowing these places because they're mostly like
well,
red.
I guess
states.
this would be the perfect time to segue into sanctuary cities.
Yeah.
And or better yet, sanctuary states. Shout out North. Well, I don't want to say shout out. North Carolina is not a sanctuary state, but there are, like, the state of New York is sanctuary, DC sanctuary, Illinois is a sanctuary, in which another piece of this the pie is the idea that with a sanctuary state, if a immigrant or migrant is to commit a crime or do XYZ, even if they are arrested, is but so long they're gonna keep them in there, and they can't or don't have to report it to immigration, ICE, or any of the deportation organizations.
Yeah, they don't have to comply with. They don't comply
At
with
all.
ICE. Period, which is kind of
Yes.
crazy.
Exactly. And also 75%. I saw some stat saying 75% of the black population is in sanctuary cities. So if they deliberately make those cities,
Well, they're heavily Democratic cities more times than not.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it's not
that most of these cities are in the South. I don't think that's correct.
I'm talking about like Chicago, like LA. Look at LA used to
DC.
be a black city, and look what happened. Now it's only 4% black.
Bro, LA's always been Hispanic.
No, I'm talking about like before.
Yeah, it's really Hispanic.
I mean, California's a
I'm
Hispanic
talking about
state.
before Reagan. Before Reagan did the amnesty,
they were still like a small, like they've never been a majority, bro. Like,
you know, it was started by a black woman, right? It's like Biddy, what's her name? It's a black woman that founded that city, and we don't really talk about her much. It wasn't always. There were like Compton, Crenshaw, these neighborhoods. They were primarily black at one point, especially in the 90s.
Sure.
Now they're not.
Yeah,
now they're not
neighborhoods, but like California and LA is like overwhelmingly Hispanic or Spanish.
But I'm talking about these specific neighborhoods. They used to be black, and now they're not. So, and in Chicago, for example, that's another sanctuary city, and
it's usually a lot of blue cities and blue states, to be honest.
And there's a lot of black people there, and then they make those sanctuary cities. They bring them in there. They give them resources, and they compete with resources there. Because I saw in Chicago there was like they had to shut down like a football camp or something like that because they had to use it for migrants, and they were fighting to open up a school, and then they wouldn't do it forever, and then finally the migrants came and they put them there. We got the majority of the homeless population, but they put the migrants in the hotels with our tax resources. So. There's more examples of how it's not good for black people, especially if you look at a lot of like Latinos, their homelands are very anti-black. Like like they're even more racist in their homelands than the white people are in the United States, often, especially present day white people. Like they treat every one of these countries, they have Afro Latinos, but if you look at the TV, you won't see any Afro Latinos the way you see black people in America, because they kind of push them to the side and persecute them, especially like the indigenous people that don't speak Spanish. They treat them very poorly. So they're putting them into the neighborhoods that are primarily black and then papering them up, and then we vote for it. So,
gotcha. Anybody else commentary on sanctuary cities?
I think just you hear, not to quote Stephen A, but like when America has an issue, I think black people are always the number one people that are affected by it. And so the immigration is an issue, and like you hear, these people complaining and seeing like the type of stuff, it's obviously going to affect us more because they're not going to bring it over and have it affect another population. You could even just go to like COVID and a lot of these other things. We see the detriment that happens to the black community when it's these national issues. And I think that's, one reason why we have to be very intentional about even discussing it with an open lens, because we could get tricked into just going along with what somebody says and doing something that could end up hurting us in the long run.
Straight up.
The thing I want to say on it is that I got like two things kind of on it. Is one, it's saying New York is estimated that they're going to spend $4.6 billion on migrant care this year. That's just the city. That's not the state. That's New York City. I just feel like
reparations, though.
I just feel like from that standpoint, the fact that all this tax-paying money can go toward these non-tax-paying citizens is crazy. And then there's a ton of things that, you know, not even on a black like reparations thing. There's tons of policies like with that much money in a city like New York that would benefit the residents of New York City, for example. So
they could get rid of them rats.
The misdirection of funds is one thing, but I also think like conspiracy hat on. I think what they're trying to do is, if you look at the past 30 years, a lot of why jails are overcrowded are for nonviolent drug-related crimes. Moving forward, as marijuana becomes closer and closer to federally legal, other drugs become decriminalized, they won't be able to police communities the way that they have in the past. And yet these privately owned buildings, prisons, will need motherfuckers to fill them walls so that they can pay the bills. How are they going to do that if you can't criminalize niggas and pat them down for smelling like weed or whatever the case will be? You need somebody else to fill those seats. Hence, you bring in all these quote unquote asylum seekers who don't have anywhere else to go. And I think that's like going to basically be the new sort of wave of criminality in terms of like overpopulating those facilities. They're going to look to bring in these migrants and then redirect like that funding to fill those private prisons with like migrants as like a middle ground. Because when you apply for asylum, your date usually is like 4 years out into the future. So you just here kind of doing shit for a long ass time. You can't work for like 3-4 months once you get here. Like things have to take place. So it's like, where are you going to do with all these people? I feel like they're not going to be able to keep making money off of us the way that they have with these nonviolent drugs or nonviolent crimes related to drugs. And they're going to use this as a way to fill those prisons. That's what I'm thinking.
Like arrest the migrants for breaking the law?
Not even arrest them, house them.
But I don't
know if you know what ICE did, like on the border. Like this is Obama era too. Like they were taking people and putting them in these quote unquote camps.
I think the issue with the sanctuary cities right now is that the immigrants kind of can't get held in jail for too long. But I guess to kind of keep moving the conversation on, to we'll eventually kind of land at the precipice of the question. So just again, why the immigrants are now heavily populating specific areas, again, which are now the sanctuary cities. Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, he has pretty much intentionally sent bus loads to blue cities of immigrants. He said that because of the policies, Texas is being overran, and it's easy to make those decisions when you're up there in Capitol Hill, up there inside these northern states where it's not impactful. So I'm gonna intentionally drop buses of these to them. But something he did intentionally as well is that he sent them to states and cities that has the concept of right to shelter. Are y'all familiar with that?
Definitely. That was genius. Because what was he supposed to do? Because before that, he tried multiple times to get them to stop the flow of migrants. Because they even sued him recently to make him remove some barriers that they had in place to prevent them from coming over here. Like they suing him multiple times every step of the way when he's trying to stop it. So he has to send it to the places that are responsible for these policies. And look, now they're going bankrupt, saying they're full, right. And then they're becoming very unpopular. So hopefully we just wake up and vote them out and give them the proper consequence. But I think that's Abbott's ultimate goal, right?
Possibly. But nonetheless, like the right to shelter is where all of these cities end up having their hands behind their back because of as much as the New York governor or whoever New York mayor doesn't want to, and he speaks out against giving migrants money, it's a federal, like he pretty much has no choice but to do it. But saying all that to say, I got a quick little clip. This lady, if she'll explain it, and then we can actually get into the conversation.
We just conducted a poll with HarrisX, the New York Immigration Coalition, and the results are in. 4 in 5 New Yorkers support the right to shelter. Here's a quick refresher. New York City's right to shelter was established in 1981 and ensures that anyone who needs shelter has a safe place to sleep. The right to shelter is a critical part of our identity and has provided life-saving shelter for hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers. Recently, however, the mayor has tried to overturn the right to shelter, blaming New York City's homelessness crisis. We believe the right to shelter must be upheld, and clearly a majority of New Yorkers do too. Our poll found that 79% of New York City residents support the right to shelter. But that's not all. New Yorkers support policies that will end the homelessness crisis. 67% support expanding access to housing vouchers to all households in need, regardless of immigration status. 75% support passing federal laws to allow migrants and asylum seekers to work easily and legally. And finally, almost all New Yorkers agree that more must be done to address homelessness. 61% correctly share the view that it is far less expensive to the taxpayer to provide permanent housing and stability to homeless New Yorkers than spending money on shelter, emergency healthcare, and criminal justice costs. If you want to read the full results from our survey, head to the link in our bio and let us know in the comments below. What do you think about these?
Fellas, any thoughts?
Well, I think that's why these people are coming here, is because they have this, they know what we're going to do. And I think if we change the laws in these places, if we can, like you said, try to get
the issue is that the laws dictate that's what has to happen. That's the loophole.
But that's why if you change the laws, it's going to be less. They're not going to want to come to these places. They're not going to want to come to the States if we're not as welcoming, if we didn't have these laws in place. I think we kind of exacerbate the issue with like having such lenient laws. I think they would still come if we didn't, but it would be way less encouraged. And I feel like laws like that almost like, yeah, y'all can come, we got you. And that's like a middle finger to the people, to like the homeless people that are in New York, that have been in New York struggling, just to tell these people, yeah, we got you. And it's people already here that you don't got. That's why they're coming, is because we're offering it to them.
Trey, you muted.
I was saying, yeah, that's exactly what it is, John. It's an open invitation to the entire world to come to the United States, because they know that right now the United States is prioritizing illegals over their own citizens. I've even heard it like straight out of their mouths. And it's interesting that lady, I don't know if I believe her when she says that the majority of people, 90-something percent, are in favor of the sanctuary city status, because Eric Adams is in trouble over there. He's extremely unpopular. And so is same thing in Chicago. They tried to have a council session where to vote against sanctuary city status. So,
you know why? You know why I think? Because when you look at New York City, I mean, like, I'm trying to like it is like why they call it a melting pot for a reason. A lot of first generation Americans in New York City, if not like immigrants who had first generation Americans. So if you are like the first American born out of your family in New York City, that means you probably got a lot of family other places who's trying to get to you over here. You feel what I'm saying? So I could see why a city like New York would uniquely vote at a higher percentage for some of these more liberal services compared to like Raleigh might, for example, or even Charlotte, for example. I don't think that you would see those same numbers, even though these are like the big liberal parts of North Carolina. You wouldn't see those same type of numbers that you see in New York City because we don't have the same makeup.
Well, I've kind of seen the opposite, where a lot of people who came into the United States the correct way and they've been waiting in line, they're offended by the fact that people can just come to like cut the line, and then they're unvetted and they can just get these resources. And that's why you see Hispanics vote pretty much 60-40 Democrat to Republican, because some of them, as soon as they get here, they're trying to close the door behind them as quickly as possible.
But that's what I'm saying. New York is unique in that it's Ellis Island has its reputation. Like New York is like we always talk about immigration from a southern border perspective, but New York gets immigrants from all across Europe, all across the Caribbean, all across Africa, all across Asia. Every continent is migrating to New York City. Like,
so you're not talking about the migrant. You're not talking about the migrant crisis anymore, then, because you're talking about Ellis Island.
What I'm saying is that the makeup of that city, with the history of things like Ellis Island, like it has a huge background of first generation people that didn't grow up in America. The city is largely made up of immigrants who where this isn't their foundational land.
Oh, that's true. That's definitely true. Especially with FBAs aren't very prevalent in those areas anymore like they used to be. And, you know, this life has been gentrified. But I don't think that legal immigrants are as adamant about illegal immigrants as it sounds.
That might be true, but I don't think New York, like, I just think New York is its own kind of like, it's New York City. You know what I'm saying? It's the Big Apple. Like, ain't nothing like New York City on the southern border. It just ain't.
All right, hey fellas. So I got a couple clips as we actually get into the topic at hand. The immigration crisis, has it actually became black issues, or a black issue in general? I'm gonna play a couple clips and then we can kind of get into the conversation.
CBS 2 political investigator Dana Kosloff was there for all the action, and Dana, strong feelings all around.
Yeah, Erica, and for many different reasons, among them the fact that this $51 million approved today is only a short-term fix, and more money will be needed in just weeks.
We cannot continue to falsely pit communities against one another.
Deep emotional wounds coming to the surface.
As Black people who have been hurt continuously by the city and country it loves, it ain't our responsibility to take care of everybody else.
And anger.
We don't want to have to recall anybody. We don't want to have to protest anybody, but we are not going to ignore it, Brandon. Mayor Johnson.
Many in Chicago's Black community and the city council speaking out against spending $51 million to house migrants, asking when will the help for them finally become a reality.
And it cannot be put on the backs of the residents of Chicago without showing them that they're getting something out of this.
Mayor Brandon Johnson, presiding over his second full city council meeting, had to ask for calm more than once.
Will the Sergeant of Arms please restore some order?
Police also intervening at one point to allow the meeting to proceed. Ultimately, the measure passed with 34 votes. Many.
A migrant family of 4 in New York could get over 20 grand a month in freebies. $500 a night at a hotel, $130 a day for food, and having 2 kids in public school costs us $5 grand a month. We didn't even tack on Mayor Adams' $1,000 cash gift cards, the free health care at the ER, or the free phones and free lawyers, or the $400,000 in free college tuition per dreamer. Meanwhile, taxpayers with jobs in New York pay thousands to live in a closet.
Video shows a group of men walking up a stairwell at the Edge Lowry apartment complex in Aurora. All of them appear to be carrying rifles and handguns, and the video shot earlier this month. One of the men can be seen talking on a cell phone. They will then gather around a door and go in. Another video clip shows men forcing a door open. But what or who they were searching for, not clear, were riddled with bullets after a shootout at the complex earlier this month. The Romeros say the trouble started when a large number of migrants began moving in.
And for fair representation.
The United States and the role of immigrants. Hey everybody, let's talk about something really important today. Black jobs in the United States and the role of immigrants. Part of the reason why I'm even talking about this is because of what just happened during these debates. So what are black jobs? These are jobs in the informal or underground economy. They're usually cash-based don't come with benefits like health insurance or Social Security, and often lack government regulation. So think about labor and construction, domestic work, or agriculture. These jobs can be pretty tough and don't offer much security. Now, you may have heard former President Donald Trump saying that immigrants crossing the border are taking away these black jobs from Americans. He's mentioned things like they're taking our job, they're taking our manufacturing jobs, they're taking our money, they're killing us. But let's dive into this a bit. So here's the thing. Many of these jobs are actually labor intensive, low paying, and often not very desirable jobs for native born workers, right? So immigrants, including those without legal documentation, often end up with these roles because they're willing to do the tough work that others might not want. And for many, it's the only way to support their family. For example, in agriculture, a significant portion of the workforce is undocumented. The American Farm Bureau Federation estimates that 50 to 70% of the farm force is undocumented. These workers are crucial to the food supply, yet their contributions are often overlooked. And get this.
All right. Nonetheless, y'all get the gist of that. Fellas, I guess I'll start off and ask, how is the immigration crisis actually impacting Black people today?
It's stealing resources from us. It's like in a lot of these communities where that money's going to them, especially in New York. I forgot about the $400,000 college thing and the five. Like I knew about the five. I didn't know they was getting that much.
Well, I think that's probably DACA. I'm gonna guess. But are these resources that Black people would ever have access to anyway?
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
hey, hold on. Let me. I mean,
and of course, you can say like in today's time, is there a way for Black people to access those resources, like that 400,000 or whatever number you just said?
I mean, and this is what I wonder because I think if we change the way that we vote, there's very clear ways that we can, change the way that some of these bills are going. And I'm not saying we would get them to just do reparations automatically, but Black people would benefit from better roads, better schools, better hospitals. Like there's so much other things that money could be used for that would benefit Black people, even if they don't just give it to us directly. Like it'd be much better spent in making our country better, and just even for white people, like just as Americans, like it would just be better for us as Americans if we not giving that money away to people when we have issues in our own country that need addressing and need money to fix.
Okay. And so I guess that the answer, your answer probably would be through diverting those funds to better infrastructure and other options.
It lowers our quality
people will
of
kind
life.
of get are indirectly impacted.
Right.
Okay.
I don't really like the indirectly impact for Black people personally. Like yeah, like I do agree with your point that the money can just be used in general for like just for all Americans to have a better quality of life. But I would just leave it at that versus like saying it'll help Black people too. Like it's not for if it's a public road, then it ain't for Black people. You know what I'm saying?
But don't Black Americans benefit just from being in America?
But see, that's nigga. No, like, what do you mean? Like,
we don't like we're very privileged.
Like,
we're very privileged to be in America.
Yo, lift off programs are off code, bro.
No, like to say we benefit just from being here is like, you know, here, like, what is America without us? Like, America benefits from us being here.
It's a mutual beneficial thing, yes, but
no, it's not even mutually beneficial. What America has reaped from the exploitation of us versus what we have privilege over being American is not the same. Like, at all.
As America, so there's no privilege in living in America. For
If
anybody.
we want to talk about,
I'm not
being,
fucking where it came from. It's saying, but living here is this. Why are they moving here? We're not moving there. They're moving here.
I don't disagree. I don't want to live anywhere else, but the reason why is because my people built where I'm living.
I agree with that. Yes, we built it, but and the fact that we built it means
it's the privilege we created. Like
we get to benefit from it though. Whether we built it, it's our benefit.
Bro, we don't benefit from being in captivity. Like just because we built our prison doesn't mean that we should say thank you to the warden.
I'm not saying
allowing us to.
I'm not saying say thank
I mean, it kind of
you,
sounds like that's.
But no, I'm saying they shouldn't give it to the immigrants. If anybody's going to use it, should be kept here in America. Whether they give it to us or not, it should be kept here in America because this is what we built.
I agree, it should be kept.
That's all I'm saying
for American citizens in general, but let's not make things for all American citizens. Like with the caveat, yeah, black folks benefited from this because all Americans did. That's not really doing nothing for black people.
Especially when we're at the bottom.
But those are two separate things. Like, I mean, yes, we should get the money, but like, should they be getting it? No. Then after they stop getting it, then we can talk about where to put it, but it has to be brought back to us. And then we can figure out how much of it, what we're going to get, but we have to quit them giving it to them.
Before you hop in, Trey, G, I did want you to answer the question. How is the immigration crisis actually impacting black people today?
So this is where I would say like when I look at the crisis, the majority of the states that feel that impact, like I'm not in a sanctuary state. So it's kind of tough for me to say how this might be impacting black folks in those states versus one like North Carolina. So I will preface saying it in that way because we're not really seeing the same types of issues here. I would say generally speaking though, what it's hurting us because it's like they're taking priority over the black community in terms of resources being allocated and the legislation being put forth. So it's just another reason to not do reparations, if you will. It's just another reason to not do something specific for our community because there's another crisis at hand. So I would say that's more so how it's hurting it more than anything. It's putting something else at the front of the line when we keep waiting in line, so to speak, to get ours. But if I'm being honest about these jobs and ability to work and so forth, I gotta be honest. I'm not really saying that because there's so many migrants or immigrants that black people can't get jobs. That's just not something I'm not seeing that. So I can't speak on it from that perspective. But I do think they're kind of skipping the line and that's hurting us.
Got you. Trey, talk to him.
Man, I think immigration has always been a black issue, but now it's so like with all millions coming across the border, it's gotten so blatant that we have to deal with the consequences. And I think that they may be trying to put this push on immigration because it's a Democrat policy. And I think a lot of black people are losing faith in the Democratic policy, the Democratic Party. So if they don't do this push now, they may never get the opportunity because I think black people are starting to be done with Democrats. So, and then to what G was saying, like we never got anything like that we didn't have to fight for from the government that was specifically for us. So now they're bringing in non-citizens and doing things specifically for them and giving them resources and prioritizing them over us. So this is putting us on the path to a permanent underclass status if we don't, think more, proactively about our specific needs. And one thing we were saying before, I think G was saying this too, like if we talk about things that benefit other people or benefit America, so it benefits black indirectly. You never hear them say this benefits black people, so it'll benefit us indirectly. We're the only people that have that mentality, and I think that makes us a doormat, and that's why they're able to take advantage of us and then say things like black and brown and minorities and underclass and doing things for them, which means that we as black people are at the bottom of the list of things that are allocated for those groups like minorities and such.
Gotcha. So again, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is kind of what I'm hearing for the most part. From I guess y'all, the first three is the allocation of possible resources that we don't have, but in future tense would have to vote to actually get that allocation of funds that's available, or we have to pass policy to actually properly allocate it, i.e., reparations or something of that lens.
I mean, but I think you're not considering that if they do nothing for anybody, then that doesn't push us to the bottom. But so you're saying like these possibly allocated resources, like even if they don't allocate them to anybody, it still hurts us to put another group of people ahead of us as a priority to push us at the bottom. So like even if they kept the money and didn't do anything for any, it's better that they do nothing for anybody than to do something specifically for another group and put them above us.
Okay, got you. I don't know. I guess what is that? Putting a immigrant group higher on the, I guess, social hierarchy. Is that like a fair representation of what you're saying?
Yes, because that's what happened with when they brought Italians. They brought Greece with the Ellis Island. America has a long history of bringing in immigrants and then hazing them into white supremacist mentalities and using them as a buffer class to put above us. And I think
you think the Venezuelans and the Mexicans and like the full South America, like those are who they're grooming to be that?
Bro, they're very racist in their homelands. Like very racist. So
I think
yes.
that don't they suffer from a lot of the same ailments? Like they're kind of bringing in its own problem.
What do you mean bringing?
Like, i.e., I forget the name of the Venezuelan gang. It's Tres something. But like they're bringing in a problem. Like this isn't benefiting anybody at all.
But how's this different than when they did Gangs of New York, where those people before they got acclimated into the dominant society, they had their own gangs, they had their own crime. So what did they do? They give them resources, and then that helped with lessen the crime, as it always does. So I think that's, history is just repeating itself right now. Just like when we were brought out of bondage, we had all these skills, and they didn't want us to be employed for these jobs. So they brought in immigrants and gave them the priority, taught them to be white supremacists, and kept us at the bottom. Now it's the same thing right now. Like our incarceration numbers are going down. We're lifting up, thinking things we're getting a little bit more politically sophisticated. So here they come bringing in, immigrants, which also another indirect benefit is it pushes down the wages, because right now these jobs are jobs we don't want to do because they don't pay enough. Like I guarantee you, these tough jobs, if you tripled the pay and told some high schoolers to go do it, they would do it, especially these jobs that aren't as high skilled. But to get wages up, you have to go on strike, right? But you can't go on strike if you have millions of people willing to do the jobs for low, and then wages are not anywhere close to the rate of growth as inflation. So rather than improve wages, they'll just bring in migrants and keep everyone else poor.
Gotcha. Well, okay, I guess that. So in essence, your whole thing is that it's a theory to depress wages in general.
Yes.
In which, but with that, eventually keeping black people at the bottom, and they'll get impacted by that socioeconomically and keep them inside quote unquote hoods.
Yes, and they'll run this like an apartheid state because their numbers are going down. But if they can rule as a dominant minority, this buffer class can help. We've seen this time and time throughout history where we have a buffer class of people between the dominant society and the black underclass that they keep suppressed.
Black, talk to us. How is the immigration crisis actually impacting Black people today?
Yeah, like I say, I guess I don't really live anywhere where I see the real crisis of it. Like I can see a real shift or change. Maybe in Texas, or Florida, or Cali, New York. Well, I was in New York recently and remember feeling like going through the trains in certain areas, like it was. I mean, it's always a foreign, diverse vibe in New York, of course, but it really did feel like people was kind of just like you say, was just dropped off a bus or something, and they had their bags, and they were just like they didn't speak no English at all or nothing. They were just like looking lost, and it was a lot of folks like that. And I was like, what's going on out here? And it wasn't looking like homeless people. It literally looked like people just kind of got like, here, boom, we in New York. We don't know where to go, what to do, type shit. So I don't know if it's a crisis or not. Like when you say it's taking Black jobs, or what kind of Black people are we talking about?
What kind of Black people?
Yeah, because the jobs that people are mentioning, a lot of Black people don't want to do. You know, that's why it's like
That's what that last slide was kind of speaking to us.
Yeah, so it's like in the last slide, the guy, he was like, I guess the lower wage jobs. Yeah, those are
Like
the jobs
agriculture.
you have to get to survive, but they don't want those jobs. And in our culture, even more so, our youth, like they're not working at McDonald's like, you know, we would as a badge of honor as their first job and shit. Like they're like, nah, like they're trying to content create, they're trying to do other things. Like they're not looking to work the jobs that might make our economy grow. So I don't think they're coming in and taking it like you're really competing in an interview room versus a Mexican or something, you know, on your everyday life. It's like, dang, like another Mexican's here or another African's here. Like, will I get this job or will I get this apartment? Or I don't see it being no issue yet for real, like that people can really speak to that. All right, these people coming is becoming a problem. Like everywhere I go, like I can't do shit because I realized like a influx of these new people. Are we really experiencing that? Like maybe in tech, you got to worry about more Indians coming over, or Asians, or maybe if you fucking paint houses, you got to compete with the Mexicans. And Mexicans do good ass work, so you better.
Yeah, this nigga sounds super racist. I ain't gonna
I
lie.
know,
To you.
right?
Yo,
It's
yo,
crazy,
like,
bro.
He did run down the tropes just then. I ain't gonna.
All of them, bro.
Like
Mexicans, the
They say
word.
you niggas are lazy.
Joint, bro. Like,
Muy bueno.
He ran him down. It was
Muy
like,
I had
bueno.
to interject because he kept
And
going.
if
He
you
gonna
do
double
this
down
one-
on how good the Mexicans work too. I was like, damn,
Muy
like
bueno.
this nigga sound crazy, boy.
On point. I don't never had no issues with them.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Niggas, they lie. They want to smoke cigarettes in the crib. Like it's always some shit with niggas. Get mad,
Yo-
man. It's what it is.
Yo, hey Black, are you Greek?
The niggas feel like you hire them.
not to smoke cigarettes at the crib. That's hilarious to me.
Yo, hey Black, you Greek?
Huh?
Are you Greek?
Nah.
Okay, word.
He was gonna call you a boule.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that shit is funny though. Boy.
Okay, all right. So so from what it sounds like, 3 out of 4 kind of said more or less it's not been in like a immediate impact on what they see, like in their day-to-day life. Of course, possible allocation of resources for things, whether it's today infrastructure wise or in the future, quote unquote, reparations wise. So I guess this leads me to ask this question. And of course, Trey does believe, and he thinks that it's more or less a depression of wages and keeping Black people as the underclass and allowing them to be the buffer class for just American hierarchy. But so I asked this question. How has the migrant has the migrant crisis impact on Black people been overstated or understated? And is it more so a lack of policy for Black people's or in Black people's advantage that we're mad about?
Bro, you know it's understated because they're not saying any of this on the news. The only reason we're hearing about it is people are making so much noise on the grassroots. I'm
It's
talking
on
about
the news though, bro. It's mainstream news. It's
I'm
mainstream news.
I'm talking about from a black perspective. They talk about the migrant classes, but I'm talking about as far as black people in Chicago talking about they don't want it to be a sanctuary city and trying to have votes against that.
Well, Trump did the
And-
whole black jobs thing that went
but
viral.
Trump says that Trump's not like mainstream media.
That was in Chicago too.
It
Right.
was, yeah.
Like, and Trump
Yeah.
says a lot of stuff. Like, they weren't really talking about Kamala ain't black like that. We were talking about that in the grassroots, but then Trump said it. Now it's kind of mainstream thing. So I think a lot of them, I even heard some of them talk about foundational black Americans, those exact words. So I think we are speaking out a lot of these issues that are affecting us. And you know that it's a major issue because when they start listening to us, our words start getting in the lexicon. It's not coming from like mainstream, like MSNBC, which black people normally listen to, even if they are saying it on Fox News. Like if it's piercing the perspective of the black collective, and we don't even watch Fox News, and it's got a basis. And I think it's easy to say that from somebody in Charlotte versus somebody who's actually on the front lines in one of these major destinations for sanctuary cities, where they're coming in by the tens of thousands by buses every day, and they have to deal with their own schools getting shut down. Because like Black, if you had family that was in Charlotte and then they couldn't go to their football camp because they were going to migrants, or they couldn't take the bus because of that, and you were affected personally, I think you would probably change your perspective. It's just easier to see it how it is when you're hundreds and hundreds of miles away.
And I can, like I said, I can agree with that. Like I said, for me and the people around me, I haven't seen nobody's life being drastically shifted because of immigration. But I'm sure it might be happening somewhere. Just I don't see it.
But like Trey, like I do want to push back on one thing you said about the sanctuary states, because even though so Chicago, New York, and LA, like those are the three biggest, arguably the 3 of the 5 biggest cities in all of the country, right? I know New York and LA too. I think Houston might be 3, but Chicago's up there top 5. But neither one of these cities are majority black. If we're talking about like the dynamics of these cities, LA is not a majority black city. New York's not a majority black city. Chicago's not a majority black city.
The inner city. So what about the inner city in New York, like the specific neighborhoods?
But I'm talking, but we don't know the specific neighborhoods people are in and so forth. I'm just talking about like the cities themselves, like
Southside Chicago, for example. Let's be more specific.
But is that where the migrants are being placed, in the South Side?
Yes, they're specifically putting them in black neighborhoods. They're not putting them in the Mexican neighborhoods, which is crazy.
So my point in saying what I'm saying is that these aren't the places where the bulk of black people are living. Just because New York, Chicago, and LA are being impacted, the majority of these states are not in the South. The majority of these sanctuary states are not where the majority of black people live. If you were to add them all up, that's more sort of point I'm making. It's not.
But I get what you're saying, and that is true. There are black people across the nation, but there is a significant population of black people in certain pockets of Chicago and certain pockets of New York.
Sure.
And those are the specific pockets where they're sending the buses and giving them the resources in those pockets there. So that's why it's, if they were to go to, some Hispanic neighborhood in Chicago, we wouldn't be seeing the same impact that we're seeing now. But that's not what's happening. They're deliberately placing them in black communities.
I need some more context there, because for example, they're not putting them in vacant homes that people
they're putting
own
them in
on the
hotels,
block, right?
in schools, and police stations.
They sleeping overnight in police stations.
Yeah, bro, they're allowing them to stay in police stations in Chicago. They had to stop it one time because the migrants were attacking the cops. Even
so again, no, but like let's use that example. If they're staying in police stations, that's not like taking over the black neighborhood. Like these are these aren't like, if they're at the police precinct, they're not really taking up housing from black people.
But that's putting a load on the police officers that which are a resource in the black neighborhood. Like we have black people who are on the streets, and then they have illegals who are inside police stations and 5-star hotels.
Look, I think that, but see, that's homelessness compared to how they treat migrants, which I do agree. Like, if we can treat migrants like this, we should be able to crush homelessness and give people housing and shit like that. Like I agree with that wholeheartedly, but I do think, so I said, I think it's being overplayed as in terms of how it's impacting the Black community. I feel like these polarizing topics, I think it's an issue, but in terms of how it's impacting like our community, I don't think that it's like something that is gonna like move the needle for us specifically. I don't see it as that.
Well, I can just add to that. TBI brought up a good point. Crime is increasing in those areas too, because what happens when you bring a bunch of military-aged men, because they're not really coming with a lot of women, it's mostly men, and you're putting them into Black neighborhoods. They don't have the ability to work and have jobs because they're illegal, and they're just planning them next door to a place that was normally a decent neighborhood that had Black people there. If you live in that neighborhood, how would you feel? You feel me?
I don't disagree.
Unsafe.
I don't disagree.
Exactly. And even in New York, to add insult to injury, I was listening to a story about a Black guy who he was homeless and he had 2 jobs, and he had to clean up the park, and he got ticked off with the migrants there because they were trashing the stuff. So he came back later, and then the disagreement popped off, and he had a Roscoe, and one thing led to another, and now he's charged with a hate crime because he said it wasn't fair for him to have to do all that cleaning there. So we're trying to get a hate crime bill, and we're trying to get reparations, but instead they're giving non-citizens the hate crime, justice, and they're giving them money. So what more clear indication are we being replaced?
What I heard out of that was the fact that he was homeless and was working 2 jobs.
Yes, it's expensive, bro.
That's the problem with New York right there. That's the issue.
That's a New York problem.
And that's kind of my point here. Is like we're talking about 3 of the biggest. We're talking about 3 of the biggest cities in America that don't reflect the average experience, and just because New York is so densely populated, and LA and all these other places, so that you can say within a like a small radius, so many people are being impacted, it doesn't really speak to like the community at large. It's like a very specific pocket of a city, not necessarily like Black people as a whole. Is that like, you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but I think that's a dangerous mentality, because we need to be, if you're harming Black people or a pocket of Black people anywhere in America, we as Americans nationally need to stand against that. You can't just harm us and then us vote for you.
And when you say us, like you like this is what I'm saying, like
foundational Black Americans.
How do you know that's who's being harmed, especially in a city like New York and LA? How you know that those Blacks are what you say they like? How do you know that's who that is?
Well, I'll say more so in Chicago is what I've been keeping up with, and I've seen them identify themselves as FBAs. I've seen them in the city hall meetings protesting against them being sanctuary cities. And Mayor, it was not Adams. What's that guy's name?
Adams is New York.
Mayor. Adams is New York, but there's another guy that's a Black guy. He always talked about being from the South Side, but basically they're trying to run him out because he is not going. It's supposed to be a democracy, right? Well, the people don't want it to be a sanctuary city, but he's allowing that. So
they got to vote on it.
And it's
they won't allow them to vote.
It's a state thing too. It's a state level.
It's a city thing, because they were going to have a vote, but they didn't allow. They literally.
But the state itself, Illinois, is a sanctuary state.
Yes, couple of states.
But they were going to have a vote. And then they did not. They did janky stuff, because I know some activists. Afro Elite was there, and he was trying to get there, but they were doing janky things with changing the times, not allowing them to be in the chambers to speak, funneling in immigrants to speak on their behalf. And even on the way out, there was a protester that was a Hispanic person. He was like, "You are lazy. You don't get nothing." Talking to the Black people who were there to fight against it being a sanctuary city. So these people, there's like a battleground there with our people who are fighting against this. So I don't want to just like see this and say, well, it's not us. So
it's Trey. What did the Hispanic say again?
You were lazy. You were lazy. Money for me, no for you.
Nah.
If I can do it,
no
tomorrow I can
trabido.
do an accent. I can do an accent. You know what I mean?
So,
no trabido.
But I sound
so
like
Johnny, are we buying into xenophobic political propaganda, or is the issue actually understated when it comes down to its impact on Black people?
I mean, it's understated because, like, even if it's just a pocket of people, like Martin said, a injustice anywhere is a
Facts.
threat to justice everywhere. Hey, that was for you, Trey. But
Yeah.
but I think, like, even if it is just a small pocket, and like if you're able to take care of all these migrants and they can have hotels and stuff, there should be no homeless people in New York. Like that
Facts.
should not be a thing. Like the migrants can sleep outside. They just like and put the homeless people in the hotel, and that would
That's
be a
the
more
issue with
fair.
asylum right there, and the right to shelter state. I think that's.
But why do you feel
No,
like
it's
that's
not
your
state
problem in
level,
North
bro.
But how
Carolina?
come?
Like,
But how come homeless people in New York don't have a right to shelter? There should be no homeless.
They do.
so you feel like homelessness in New York is your problem in Charlotte?
I'm not saying it's my problem, but I'm saying if a black person, if Black people are saying this is an issue, as another Black person, I'm gonna be on their side. I'm gonna be on the Black, like if I know it's affecting, even if it's not all Black people, even if it's a small percentage of Black people, I'm gonna be on their side.
That's the realest
And
thing I ever heard you say,
But that's
John.
not the
That's not
case
the
as it
realest
relates to
thing.
voting for Kamala versus Trump. You're not on Black people's side as it relates to that.
Who, if Kamala's gonna hurt Black people and do stuff that's not for the benefit of Black people, I'm still on Black people's side. If I'm worried about
Straight
the
up.
benefit
But
of
I'm
Black
just
people,
there are the majority of Black people would say we should vote for Kamala, but you don't agree with that. I'm
I
just
don't know if
saying.
that's I don't know if that's
I'm going
true.
off his logic. I'm just
who is
throwing
the
I'm throwing his
majority?
logic back at him. I'm just
Who
throwing
is
his
the-
logic back at
The
him.
90% that's gonna vote for
The majority of Black people are saying we should vote
Democrat.
for Kamala, but yet you don't just
But that's something that's something in the future. Like if they said, like we're talking about voting in the future, and this is something that's already happened.
Hey man, I think I'm cooking. Hey, Q, I think
No,
I'm
you're not cooking at all,
I think I'm
G.
cooking, bro.
G, hey, the Democrats,
I
the
think I'm
Democrats
cooking.
numbers are going bad,
No,
and
no,
also
no.
So we talking about possible
I'm just
impact.
bringing up the fact that
That could be a
what
debate.
I was told was that if Black people are telling me this is an issue, I'm gonna ride with the Black people. Like I'm just because they Black, even if it's a small piece of them, I'm gonna ride with them because they Black. And what I'm saying is that we don't apply that same logic as it relates to who we gonna vote for in this upcoming election. Because even if you want to say it's declining, Trey, the overwhelming majority of Black people.
That's bad faith, G. Because we all agree
ain't no
that
bad faith. Ain't no bad faith. I'm
definitely bad faith.
So tell me why it doesn't hold up.
Because we already know.
Hey, I got it, Trey. Because we don't know the impact. We're discussing it's a discussion. It's not a set in stone fact of which one's going to be better. We don't know. So we're trying to have an educated debate to figure out the best answer. We know this immigration thing is happening. These are people that are speaking about the direct effects of it. We should listen to them. We don't know what the direct effects of voting for Kamala or Trump are.
Thank you, bro.
And so that's the future. But we talking
So that's
about
the only. So that's where you draw a line in terms of supporting Black people and not supporting Black people. Future
supporting
versus
Democrats
present.
is not supporting Black people. It's not supporting Democrats.
According to what I heard.
You trying to twist
no,
it.
Johnny, I heard you say it, brother. You said if I hear Black people say something, I'm riding with the Black people. That's what you said.
No, I said if Black people are speaking on the issue that's happening to them, I am with that. If Black people saying
Black people say that voting for Trump is an issue.
That's not an issue. That's a debate about something we're going to do in a code.
Bro.
So I just want that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
John's talking about a tangible. You're talking about some ideology.
Nah, voting is tangible. Votes are actual things that can be counted. Voting is a tangible thing.
Tangible. We all voted for Joe Biden back in the day, and you see how that happened. And Black people wanted that, and that ended up hurting them. So, like, it just because Black people say.
So could the same not be true for the migrant crisis too?
But gee, how is bad faith, bro?
How's it bad faith? I'm using the same logic.
Because you and I, we all on this panel all know that voting Democrat is not the best policy for Black people. So
and I don't think voting Republican is either.
Okay, but you're saying by John not voting for Democrats, he's not going with Black people. But we already agreed that voting for Democrats isn't going for Black people. So you can't.
But he was just stepping on Johnny's logic. He was trying to. He was putting them in the box. Johnny trying to fight out the box. But
I'm just using the logic.
Hey, Black, talk to us.
You can't use the same box for an apple and an orange. You gotta put them in 2 different boxes. Like
I think you put those in bags, my boy. But
exactly.
Hey, Black, talk to us.
And what's the question again? I got.
Has the migrant impact on Black people been overstated or understated?
Yeah, I would say it's been overstated. I mean,
because niggas lazy, right?
If we that impactful or easy to impact, then what's all this stuff you say we are? We built this, we all this resilience and all this stuff, but a couple of immigrants come in and oh god, it's a crisis for niggas. Like who are we? We either them niggas or we not. If everything is so influential or impactful on us, then we need to look at ourselves. But I don't see nobody really getting impacted for this, so it's overstated to me.
So Black, can I ask Black a question real quick?
Oh, go ahead.
So Black, you're saying that immigration policy, where they're putting these people directly in Black neighborhoods and giving them the resources, the tax resources, and prioritizing them, you're saying that doesn't impact those Black people in Chicago, or are you saying it doesn't impact you?
I'm saying I haven't seen it on a grand scale impacting, and as far as Black neighborhoods, like Black areas where they're
we're talking about the sanctuary city, not just like, I know it doesn't affect someplace in Charlotte. I'm talking about
their issue is that they're not getting anything. Not so much that they're help. It's like, how can you help without helping? If those cities distributed equal, like, okay, you'll get this and the migrants get this, they wouldn't have an issue.
So it's not a migrant issue, it's a policy issue.
Exactly. It's like, how are you using these funds here when you haven't used them here? If you gave us our fair share, then you can go take, like, you can't scratch their back before you scratch ours. That's more of the issue that I'm hearing.
But why are they scratching their back instead of ours?
I don't disagree with that, but the issue isn't so much the migrants, it's how the city and the legislation has prioritized migrants over the actual residents of the city. That's the issue.
Yeah, facts. We don't blame the migrants, we blame the policy.
Oh yeah, right. Okay. I want to blame the migrants. I want to blame the migrants.
I mean, it's not the migrants' fault that they get the priority. It's not the migrants' fault that we vote for them to undermine us. It's not the migrants' fault that we sit on.
You got Johnny boxing gloves on there.
But I mean, it's the migrants. Like, they'll screw over, a lot of them screw over their own people. Like, you see the stuff with the coyotes, all the stuff that goes down the border. There's a lot of violence over there. So of course they screw us over. Like, we just got to blame the people that we vote for in good faith to do things for us, and then they instead prioritize other people while giving us nothing. And then we also, worse than that, I blame the Black people who vote for that and then don't care about them because they don't feel the impact over there. It's like, I got mine, go ahead and get yours. Because real quick, to add on to what John was saying, an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. Also,
but not in Africa. You don't believe it in Africa. That's what I'm saying, bro, Trey. You can't say that, bro. You don't believe that injustice is over on the motherland. You don't believe that.
You sound like Ditso right now. We're talking about foundational Black Americans in America, and you're talking about something like across the ocean.
You said an injustice, not in America, is an injustice in all of America. You said an injustice anywhere. Does that not mean globally?
I thought it was like understood that I'm talking about FBAs right now.
It wasn't understood, my brother. So my bad.
What's my name? What's my name?
My bad for miss. So anywhere doesn't mean anywhere. It's specific to America.
Yeah, bro. My name FBA Trey, bro. You know what I'm talking about? Injustice. Who I'm talking about, bro?
Listen, earlier you said Black and was talking about the whole.
You was defending the Africans earlier too, so it threw me off. I didn't know what. Like, I didn't know which Trey was what.
When was I defending Africans?
He said he would never.
You were talking about how Africans were enslaving Africans, like defending the enslaved Africans against the folks who enslaved them, how they was working with, like you were shooting them some bail.
The slave trade, that's something their participation.
So
in the slave trade.
I was defending Africans by talking about their participation in the slave trade. That doesn't even make any sense.
You were though, like you were speaking on their behalf of the ones that were enslaved, the enslaved Africans. You were defending the enslaved Africans. How about that?
I was doing the opposite of defending them because I'm talking about our lineage or the people that they enslaved. I was talking about it was the slave trade was the Africans' fault. So if you want to construe that into defending them, then I think that's a reach.
So you
But,
didn't
you know,
defend the enslaved Africans? Just to make sure I'm clear.
no.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, I'm saying that Africans aren't immune from like blame for the slave trade. But what I was going to say, injustice anywhere is a justice everywhere as far as FBA goes. But also, each victory fuels the next victory, and each loss fuels the next loss, like a momentum type of thing. Like Jason Black talks about that all the time. So if we take this L with our Black communities in Chicago, then we know they're not going to just stop there. And if we get this victory in Chicago and defend these people, then we know that that victory is going to go to the next place too. So that's why we can't just concede this L and just say, well, it don't affect me, so I'm not going to deal with it. No, if you come into Black people, you're going to take advantage of them. You're going to put them at the bottom and not prioritize them with their own vote. Then no, man, we got to stand against that, bro. Like 10 toes down. Just like they would if somebody came at them.
Gotcha. So I guess to kind of, it looks like we got two inside the back end. Before I kind of bring them up, I would pose the question: what would y'all like to see happen? What would reform actually look like when we talk about immigration?
My only thing is whatever they're getting resources wise, your citizens have access to as well. You know, so if they're getting food stipends, if they're getting housing stipends or whatever, people in certain economic brackets in our own country should be able to get that as well. Like, so that's my thing. Other than that, you know, if we got the space, an opportunity for more people, then let them come. I don't feel threatened by you know. You know,
you so off code, bro. I don't even know where to start. You can't be any more off code, bro.
Gringo always rise to the top, man. Like, you too worried about somebody taking something that you don't even really own or got.
But you don't have an ounce of like self-perseverance, like I can't think of the word. Like, you don't have an ounce of like what it takes to like keep your, like, you don't want to defend your people. And they can do whatever they want to us. You want to you would defend the African before you defend the FBA. It's crazy, bro.
It's a global.
Like, why don't you?
I'm not worried about immigration. I'm worried about circumvention. I'm worried about having the freedom to be able to come and go anywhere and network with people everywhere. So what people are coming here under dire circumstances with nothing to their name and shit, going through all of that stuff, they're not taking nothing from your education.
How's it help us though? How's it benefit us?
I actually agree having to ask. Like, they're not taking nothing from you.
How does it benefit you? How does it benefit foundational Black American?
It are taking anything from you. Like,
how does it benefit us though?
America, you come here, you can make it. You can make it. If you can't, you can't.
How does it benefit us, our people, descendants of freedmen? How does it benefit us?
How does what? Immigration?
Mass immigration, naturalizing 40 million illegals. How does that benefit descendants of? How does it benefit us?
How is it?
I guess that the answer probably would be what I guess quote unquote economists say: more people, more jobs is better for the economy. The bigger the population grows, the more opportunity for industry and jobs. That's the I guess the rebuttal point to what you're asking.
So more like basically slave wage labor is good for America and economy.
Good for
I don't think they do that. I think they just say like economic opportunity.
No, but that's what it is though, because it's basically low wage labor, because they're not, they're coming here because they don't want to raise minimum wage and they want to have people to do those jobs. And you're saying that benefits us.
I just found out Durham and Mecklenburg are sanctuary counties.
I don't think. I think that we're
you're next.
Free something, but I don't think that we're sanctuary.
No, you Mecklenburg, nigga. You are.
No,
I'm talking about Trey. Talking about I'm next. Like, you in Mecklenburg. What you talking about?
But I'm fighting against it though. I'm not being complacent. So when it happens here, I'm gonna blame y'all.
So are we sanctuary or is it
you fighting against it by blaming other niggas?
It's I'm gonna remind y'all that y'all are politically like inept. Respectfully, because y'all are voting for these policies as if it can't. We know it doesn't benefit Black people. We know from
so Trey, do me like I would love for you to answer the question. what would reform actually look like in your through your perspective?
We need a moratorium on immigration. Like no more. We need to shut it down unless it is skilled laborers. We need to have more police enforcement at the border, in addition to walls and any like drones or whatever we can do
Build that
to
wall?
enforce. Build the wall and all, but not just the wall. We need to also have it reinforced with things to make sure that they can't just like climb over the wall or swim around or anything like that. We also need to do a mass deportation. Maybe vet some of them, but the majority of them, I mean, we don't have the resources. We're in a recession now, and we don't need to be raising our taxes right now to spend towards non-citizens.
How would you well, never mind.
ICE.
That, we could probably go
ICE.
down a longer.
And I say, and last thing I would say is we need to revisit the 14th Amendment and birthright citizenship. I think that should be revoked retroactively. And if people want to reapply, then they can apply. But you can't just claim to be a citizen just because you were born here. The reason that they came up with that amendment was because after Black Americans fought in the Civil War and got our liberation, they wanted to make sure that the citizenship applied to us. And I think they perverted that righteous policy and applied it to it's not true that in every country you can just go over there and then your child's born there and make them a citizenship. That's something unique to America, because some places you have to buy a land, go through all kinds of stuff, but it's very easy to be American citizenship. So that'd be the fourth thing I do. 14th Amendment.
Gotcha. Who has it? G, talk to us. When it comes down to reform, what would you like to see?
I think the process to do it the legal way needs to be more efficient overall. I think it's just too much red tape and paperwork and inefficiency. If somebody's trying to get a green card, come over the right way, get a visa, like it's wildly inefficient, I would say. And then the other thing I would like to just see different is if just redirection of funds. If the money's there to willingly give to migrants, then let's come up with some more productive ways to use that money for actual people of the community, in a way where it can improve quality of life. So that would be the things I would want to see different.
Johnny, and I think what we have 1, 2, 3, 4 in the back end. So we're gonna get to you. Once I pull up guests, give y'all full 3 minutes. You can use that how you want to. Of course, we're gonna lean off the disrespect and try and keep it as like cogent of a conversation. But Johnny, talk to him. What is your thoughts? Do you need me to repeat the question or you got it?
Yeah, repeat it one more time.
What would reform actually look like to you?
On like just the migrant crisis, it would be like Trey said, I'm a proponent of a tougher border, whether that's a wall or whatever efficient way we can secure, the border. I mean, as the powerhouse of the world, it's stupid that people can just walk into the country and that we have nothing to do to stop them. That's just a security issue. I think that would be something that would benefit not just Black people but all people. But I think that's the start. Again, a lot of the money that is going to migrants, if we can't get that for reparations, ain't no way. Like if it ain't enough money, it ain't enough money. So I don't like to see them get that much money. When I ask the question, when I talk about it, it's oh, well, what about the economy and stuff? Nah, that got to stop. That's hurting the economy. And so like the path to citizenship also needs to be tougher too. And that's what I would just, I mean, that probably sounds pretty conservative, but that's where I'm at.
Okay, gotcha. Welcome back. We have Kamu. I'm gonna put the timer on. Talk to us, brother. The prompt for the episode is: has the immigration crisis become a Black issue? And shit. Well, we'll just leave it at that part. answer that. Answer what you like. You got 3 minutes on the clock. Talk to us.
Sure. How's it, gents? I want to talk about Black America specifically. For me, it's like you have to decide whether you are Americans or you are prisoners of war. And if you choose America, then you must also know that you are part of the crime that America has perpetuated and inflicted on other nations since 1945. It's like more than 70 years. Um, so do you want to be part of that, or do you regard yourselves as prisoners of war, which is more sensible and which is more sensible because if you are a prisoner of war, it is understandable that you are not part of the decision-making collective. You are just a part of a system that wants to exploit you. So I think that's the dilemma I'm faced with right now, and I think you guys have to choose that. If you go with America, you guys are also criminal.
You know that's not true. You know we're not responsible for nothing. We know we're not responsible for anything that America did, bro. Stop, bro. You know that's bad faith.
Well, if you have America in your name, then you are also an American. Then you're a criminal.
What decisions did we make?
So, Cabo, you calling all of us niggas criminals because we got American passports? Is that what you saying?
He say lock us up.
You have to choose, bro. You can't have it both ways. You have to choose.
Were we criminals when we said we were American? We were helping South Africa during apartheid.
All
American criminals in.
I know I'm a criminal.
Well, thank you, brother.
When Michael Jackson wrote "We Are the World," which was about South Africa, and when we boycotted South Africa, when we call ourselves Americans, were we still criminals?
Bro, this is not unique to America.
Bro,
even South Africa.
No, were we criminals then?
And well, let him finish. Trey, let him finish getting it off. He got 45 seconds.
This is not unique to America. Even South Africa itself, it's a criminal country. I renounce my South African citizenship because it's a criminal. It's built upon exploiting Africans. So I'm an African first, then South Africa can come later. I know that South Africa is a criminal country. I wouldn't go out there and proudly say that I'm a South African. I don't do that because I know it's a criminal country. It still is today. We are terrorizing people in the DRC. We've sent military to protect and preserve the interest of the colonizer throughout the continent. I know South Africa is a criminal country. Same applies to America, bro. So you have to pick sides.
Can I just ask, when you renounce your citizenship, does that mean like you don't have a South African passport? You don't plan on like going anywhere, traveling? Like what does that mean? You renounce it if you still got a passport?
Well, philosophically, bro, I'm just saying.
Oh, right. Yeah, let me snap for that one. Yeah.
All right, hey, Kamu.
Snap for that one. Philosophically,
I'm gonna bring you to the back end.
Philosophically, I renounce my citizenship.
Yes, my brother.
Hey, Kamu, I'm gonna bring you to the back end. Of course, stick around as the conversation goes. If we get through everybody, I'm gonna bring everybody back up.
Hey, Quint, for you bring the next one, I just want to kind of respond to that on both sides because, like, I don't think just because you're from a place, like if you're from South Africa, we're from America. That's where that's what we are. Just because the country and the elites of the country go out and do stuff in the name of this country doesn't make everybody from that place criminal or terrorist or a part of the dysfunction. They just might have did it in the name, but not all Americans went out, or not all South Americans are going out and doing these things. I think that's a little unfair, personally.
Gotcha. All right. For the family, you're up. You got 3 minutes. Again, the prompt is: has the immigration crisis become a Black issue? The time is yours as you want to use it. Click and start. Talk to us.
Cool. Shalom to the family, man. I was about to say something, but oh boy threw me off, man. I want to give you an analogy. If you got a kid that pee in the bed, right? And she go to her grandma's house and she knows she's supposed to stop drinking after 7 o'clock, right? And her grandma give her water anyway, and then she pee in the bed. Your grandma call you cussing you out for doing it, right? Letting her piss in her bed. You gonna whoop your baby ass or your mama ass? That's these immigrants coming over here eating up all our shit, knowing they ain't supposed to be doing it. Now, when it comes to this African stuff, you renounce South Africa, but you renounce being African. Didn't Africans sell niggas? Does he rather us be a prisoner of war than be a damn American? Nigga, come get some. Fool talking about. Now, as far as the immigration, let me calm down.
Hey, real quick, and I'm gonna let you keep going. Are you from Detroit?
Yeah, I'm from the city.
You hoop?
I said, yeah.
Is that what the name is? I know the family out there.
I mean, the family is us all around. That's
Okay, got you. My bad. It's an EYBL team, the family that's big inside that Michigan Detroit area.
So why you acting like you? See, no, you be confusing me, man.
My bad. Listen, I thought it meant. I thought it was like an entendre. My bad, brother. Go ahead.
It's something deeper than what you talking about, man.
Listen, I'm gonna throw that extra 30 on you. Go ahead. 30 seconds on the clock. Go ahead.
As far as immigration reform, right? I think since we delineated, I think it's time for us to delineate from ourselves at this point. Anybody who's not with the program, then we're gonna push them on the other side and they can get it how they want. Now, for the immigrants that's here, if you're not a two-family household with college degrees, you need to go home. If you're a single parent, you need to go home. That's what I think. Make it easy. You're not bringing nothing here. You need to lay up on us on this titty? Nah. If you're not bringing nothing, we got to build you up. You need to go home. Everybody who's waiting to come in the right way, they're coming in with credentials and money, and they mad. Like, nigga, look at all this I got. So if they ain't got that, the hell with them. And the hell with Africa, man. I'm so tired of them. And old brother, at the top with the braids, if you want an open border, you can't even go to Africa and get an open border. But you want it here? You gotta put that weed down, man.
They say nothing about open border. I ain't smoked weed in almost a year.
Yeah, shit, whatever you smoked last time, it wasn't no good.
Hate from Africa.
Get your head in the game, man. You tripping.
Very
you tripping.
weird. Africa.
15 seconds.
That would be my credentials. If you ain't got no degree, unless you're a widow, you better have a damn degree too. That's it.
All right, appreciate it, brother. Again, stick around as we go through everybody. Time permitting, we will bring everybody back up. Peace, brother. So, any commentary before I bring up the next person?
I kind of agree. I agree. Like, yeah, if you ain't bringing nothing, like you only taking. If you ain't giving, you taking, and if you ain't bringing something, you taking from other people that could possibly have.
Add just a little bit of that, man. I think we as FBAs are way too friendly and way too open on us. So I know, but energy may be off-putting to some, but I think that's a new wave that we need if we're going to make any progress. This whole kumbaya, this one-sided alliance, all the other stuff has been to our detriment. So, it's time to clean things up, and that includes even those within us who, we're going to have to, deal with them before we deal with the ops.
Gotcha.
Definitely wasn't off-putting to me. I don't mind it. Like I said, it's funny to me. All that anger, it resonates from another place, but it's not really getting nothing done. If you can't communicate with people, all types of people, like you just angry at the end of the day.
But Black, what's the point of being united with people who are off code?
Because everybody's off code. That's why you can't.
That's not true.
Attack mode. Everybody's off code about something, and that's why
not true. The definition of on code is
everybody knows everything. So you can
say,
Trey,
it's two parent households on code or off code.
I mean, that's not really on or off code. Because on code just means you're for foundational Black Americans and you put your people first.
Not that it was the actions of it that don't count for nothing.
You're getting into the weeds because the foundation is if you for your people first. If you
that was only me proving that I think that there's issues that we all have different perspectives on that somebody could say is off code or on code.
Bro, if we're talking about being for your people first, and then your first thought is fatherlessness or black on black
I
crime
think
or
that
anything like
building
that,
strong
then
black
that's off
families
code.
I think building strong black families above anything is like a major priority.
I think that's
and anything outside of that probably be a little off code.
I think that's an off code perspective.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. I think the
Building
people who are
strong
on
black
code need
families would be off code perspective.
bringing that up in the conversation.
That's a wild code that you live by.
If we're talking about immigration and
why
how
would
it
that be
harms
off
black
code?
people, because if we're
No,
talking about immigration and how it harms black people, and you're deflecting
this is
to
now called
fatherlessness,
obfuscating. No, you're obfuscating. Now you're in. Like this is like you're kind of like trying to move the goalposts,
bro.
We
no,
were
because
just
I have a
talking
tunnel.
about anybody being off coded on anything.
Because
and then I brought up an example of something that you said that a lot of people would look at as off code.
No, I think a lot of the people who are on code wouldn't see that because there's a tunnel vision that comes with being on code, and the tunnel vision will not allow you to bring up tropes of the black community when you're talking about things like immigration that harm us.
Oh no, I'm talking about like if somebody was to publicly promote something other than a strong two-parent family as the foundation of the black community.
Who's
publicly
to me,
that would probably
who's
seem
publicly,
a little off
but
code.
who's doing that? Who's publicly promoting?
Oh, you did it last episode.
I didn't publicly promote that.
Oh,
I just said like Cam is, if he's a good father, then why are we talking about him when we have so many other issues? Like he's taking care of his kids, he's taking care of his family, but we're going to talk about it. He said some clownish stuff. I agree with that, but I think things like reparations, we need to have a tunnel vision that it doesn't have anything to do with talking about fatherlessness and Cam Newton and stuff like that. That's being on code.
Okay, got you. All right, so we bring it up again, another favorite of the panel. Camus. Not Camus, this is Kofi. Kofi, talk to him. You got 3 minutes on the clock, brother.
The man who calls us porch monkeys is a favorite. That's crazy.
And you call us tethers, and that's also crazy. You don't care about that. So don't start. I'm not gonna be civil today. So don't start nothing, there won't be nothing. Plain and simple. So as far as the panel is, what it's about, it is something that it is concerning. As far as your question, it is a black problem, but it is also an American problem. And what I'm not hearing again is getting to the what's going on in the world in real life. So the immigration is a problem because of the Democrats and the Republicans, right? Right now, the problem of the immigration is the Republicans' fault. Because anyone that knows anything, right, that the conservatives wrote a bill for the most conservative border bill to be passed, right? Mike Johnson, which is the head of the GOP, was listening to Trump that says, do not let it pass. Mike Johnson said it's dead on arrival without even reading the bill. There's Republicans that saw that. It was like, yes, I don't know why he's saying he's going to be dead on arrival. Why? Because Trump said not to sign it because he needs something to run on. Because Trump.
Hey, Coach, can I ask you a quick question?
Cool.
Do you think that, because I imagine you're well read enough. Do you think that anything in that bill would directly impact the actual quote unquote crisis?
Yes. Again,
I know it's like harder questions with amnesty, quote unquote, but what actually would have impacted the crisis that was in that bill?
Again, so everything in the bill is pretty much what Republicans wanted. They wanted more ICE, more border patrol for less paths to citizenship, right? Is basically more judges because there's a backlog full of people trying to seek asylum and get citizenship. All those things in that bill accommodated all those things that the Republicans were talking about and the Democrats were talking about, but only because Donald Trump wanted to run it on to see Biden get the border open. And everyone is running with this narrative that the border's open when we never had an open border. That's bullshit. That's the Republican talking points, right? Is that nothing was really done after the COVID. There was a COVID, I forgot the name of it, I think it was 42, I forgot what it was. So they had to redo it. So that's that. So we all want the border to be closed, but we all need to be honest and let the Republicans, right, do something about it because they sat on their hands because it's campaign season. That's a fact. Look it up. So as far as the whole reparations thing, stuff like that, black people deserve reparations a million times over, right? But I think the thing, especially like FBA and people like Trey, the reason why they're so, and most of them are MAGA anyway, because they're with the MAGA program. Cool. They're with the whole MAGA program and sending everybody back.
Oh man.
If you listen to Dr. Claude Anderson, our problem, you said we have not moved. This is what Dr. Claude is saying. That's not what Kofi's saying. We have not moved IOTA since the reconstructing the Civil War. So now that we have all these other people coming in, taking, and this so-called threat, we haven't got our ducks in order. So now, like, hey, they're taking on the white talking points. They're here to replace us and things like that. Why? If we had our shit in order, we wouldn't care. The Chinese are not care about. They're going to take us. These Mexicans going to take us over. The East Indians don't care about that. Why? Because they got their shit together. We don't have our shit together. So it's lazy intellectual thinking. It easily goes into hate, saying, "Well, they're going to get us. They're not for us. They're going to do this for you." So as far as that, we just, as Black people, just need to get our economics good, no matter where you are. It doesn't matter who's coming in or who's leaving. We'll be Gucci. Thank you.
Appreciate it. That was actually one of the most civil times we've had Kofi on in a while. I enjoyed that. I'm gonna take you to the back end, fellas. If y'all have any commentary, I know you spoke about Asian. A fun fact, and me just looking up just some of the stuff for this episode is that there is a decent amount of Chinese people that are entering America from the southern border. Like it's actually like a huge influx. I think they're the fastest growing group that are entering the southern border from that are entering through the southern border. I thought that was really, really interesting. Just like it's one of those weird little tangential fun facts. But
and that's how you know it's a problem, because China be coming for us.
Yeah, like we got way too many ops to just allow people to come in unvetted. Like, I've seen pictures of like straight up people on terrorist watch lists who they caught coming through the border. It makes you like, there's no way they're so foolish to create enemies abroad and then not police who's coming through. So like, what's really going on? Like, what are they planning? There's no way they're that dumb.
Gotcha. We have Quincy. Quincy is up. You got 3 minutes on the clock. Talk to us. The prompt question is: has the immigration crisis become a Black issue? Use the time as you want.
What's going on, fellas? What's going on, fellas? All right, so a few things. I'm not sure if any of y'all have either work in construction or have any family members or friends who work in construction. But you talk to them, and they'll let you know exactly how the immigrants have affected construction sites. I don't want to get too specific, want to stay anonymous, but they'll tell me how like a lot of the communication these days is strictly in Spanish. How Black men have dropped down as far as the percentage of Black men working in construction has reduced drastically over the few decades. So that's that. Then you go into like now this is stories you'll probably never hear, man, but I know because I got, like I said, friends and family who are teachers. They send these students over here who can't speak English, right? And this is in small cities, not like big cities. This has started impacting smaller cities too, like the secondary cities, second and third biggest cities in these southern states. And the students can't speak English, right? But they're required to ESOL. English is a second language, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're required by law to bring these students in. It's just a teacher oath or something along those lines. And for what I understand, is bringing down. It's having a negative effect on a few fronts, because is bringing down the test scores because they can't speak. The ESOL classes is just for 1 hour out of the day. The rest of the 7 hours, they're with the rest of the students, but they can't speak English, right? So now they're bringing down the test. They're bringing out the test scores overall for the teachers, and that's having a negative impact because teachers are judged by their test scores. So it is having an impact. And of course, when you're sitting there and kids can't speak English, and teachers kind of got to accommodate them, that does start to impact our kids. One other thing, or two other things.
Minute and a half.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, good points, bro.
A big. We won't really see the effect of a lot of this. It would be our kids who are going to see it, right? And white America knows that they owe us reparations. They know they owe Black Americans everything, and they still don't want to give it to us, but they know they owe us. Immigrants and their offspring to their point, they don't owe us shit, and they gonna let us know they don't owe us shit, and they gonna let our kids know they don't owe us shit. So if we don't get this reparations or anything we need from America now, 10, 20 years down the line, because right now the parents work these hard labor jobs, but the kids are gonna be the ones going to college, graduating, becoming politicians, becoming CEOs. The kids are gonna be the ones that get them white collar jobs, and they're gonna be the ones to say, "Now y'all should have got it when you had the chance. We don't owe y'all a damn thing." Last thing, Kofi, when it comes to people talking about that whole border bill that Trump shot down, they're not telling the whole story. If Trump shot it down, tell the whole story. The whole story is Biden left that border open for 3 years, right? They tried to suppress the conversation because if you brought it up, they called you right wing. Until about last October, November, it suddenly broke through, I guess, the zeitgeist, and people started talking about it, like on the Breakfast Club and all of that, right?
15 seconds.
Yeah, right. Now, Biden knows that it's broken through, it's in the zeitgeist. It will affect him and hurt his chances of getting reelected. Now they want to run and draft a bill to try to save face. So Trump like, no, stand on what you've been doing for 3 years and don't try to run and fix it at the last minute, right? And last thing, let me just real quick, last thing. Even in that bill that Trump shot down, it still was going to let in 5,000 migrants a day. Do the math on that. And it was supposed to give like 3 different countries. It was trying to pack in giving funding to like 3 other countries that had
Ukraine
nothing to
aid
do with
was
the
in
border.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So people not telling the whole truth about why it got shot down, and they trying to make it seem like Trump just shot it down just so he could run on it. But even if that's true, don't try to fix it in the last minute. Still know what you've been doing for 3 years and leave it open to the day to the re-election comes. Don't try to fix it now that it's re-election time. And that I'm done, man.
Gotcha.
Good points, man.
So I'm gonna actually give Kofi just a minute to respond real quick. I know you addressed him really quickly. Hop in real quick, Kofi.
Yeah. I am telling the whole story. Yeah, I am telling the whole story because he's doing the same thing again, repeating right wing talking points. The border was never open. So that's how I already know he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's not an open border. He's doing political sensationalism. The border needed to be attended to. Now, I'm not saying the Democrats are totally innocent. The Democrats are very lazy and lackadaisical about doing something about the border versus the Republicans that just want to just deport everybody and just break common immigration law. So there's a lot of fault to go around, but he's not going to tell me that election season or not. So let's say we say like, so because election season, you're not gonna do anything about the border, then bitch and complain that the border, something's wrong with the border. You can't have it both ways. So even if election season or not, the Democrats, okay, Republicans, what you want? Wow, that's a very conservative bill. We'll pass it. No, dead on arrival. And Donald Trump is not even a freaking elected official. And Mike Johnson is listening to what Donald Trump says. So who's really doing it for political expediency?
Right.
So
Can I ask you a question, Kofi? Can I ask you a question, Kofi?
Hey, fellas, I'm gonna allow y'all back and forth as soon as we got one more in the back end at the moment, and then we'll bring everybody else up. I just wanted to allow them to respond for a quick second. But
I can't jump in one.
It's gonna be. You got 3 minutes to wait. That's it.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. TBI, another favorite. Talk to us, brother.
What's good, brother? Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
All right, so just to kind of, I'm gonna jump into it, but definitely immigration is definitely is going to negatively impact specifically foundational Black Americans. I think sometimes we forget because we live in America, like we think it's this fairy tale land, but it's only so many opportunities, like whether it's jobs, whether it's housing. And the more people that you let in, the less opportunities for people to actual citizens. You can even look in California, how they just passed a bill to give illegal immigrants up to $150,000 of down payment assistance. So they're going to have, it's already a shortage of housing in California, and giving them that opportunity, that's going to shrink the opportunities for other Black people as well. So it's very, very detrimental, illegal immigration, and the fact that some of us Black people have adapted this like kumbaya, like where we're like let them come in, it's the land of the free. But it's like these people are coming in to dominate, when they get in, it's been countless accounts where some of these people have gotten a political office. I forgot the lady. She was from Ethiopia. I think she's from Ethiopia, one of the African countries. And she said she was doing things exactly for her people, her African country in America. Like she had a dual. Yeah, Somalia. That's what she was. She was specifically for our people. And then in California, they caught some Mexican people that were in public office, and they were talking about how they were going to undermine the black people. So these people are just not coming in trying to get jobs and be kumbaya. They coming in like, hey, we're trying to dominate. We're trying to get in place to get our people further along and in certain positions, while we're just like, oh yeah, come in. We're black and brown. Yeah, we're buddies. It's like we're thinking like on an elementary level. These people thinking on a nation building level, where it's like, hey, we coming to America to dominate, set up towns, set up infrastructure, and we're coming into black communities to take their housing and their opportunities. Because it's like where we came from is no opportunities like this. So if they're going to put us above these people, we're going to take it. And if anti-blackness is celebrated here, we're going to take on that mentality as well. So it's very detrimental. We got to look at it very seriously, I think.
45 seconds.
Yeah, go. But no, I was just saying, like, if we don't take it serious, it can get too late. You can let too many people in, and it's been account after account where these people get in place, they get resources, and the fact, just kind of going back to that California down payment bill that passed, they had a reparations bill that was already researched and everything. It was supposed to be passed, and they shot it down, and they passed the illegal down payment assistance for illegal migrants over reparations for people that live there, work, pay taxes, and people that just got there got put over those people instantly.
Yeah,
So
the unfortunate part of that was more of a Democratic Gavin Newsom issue right there, where he was quote unquote protecting his political interests, in which he pretty much pressed the Black Caucus into not trying to present the bill because he didn't want to have to either accept or veto it.
Right.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I was just giving more background to it.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's what we're talking about with the Democrats. The Democrats have played to be our friends, and they like, if I told you this 10 years ago, like, hey, America is going to let illegal people that are illegal immigrants come in, and they're going to give them down payment assistance, let them stay in hotels. And then the citizens here, they're going to use the citizens' tax dollars to do that. You'll be like, dude, you crazy. There's no way that would happen. But that's exactly what's happening right now. It's insane.
All right, so appreciate you. I'm gonna bring up some of the panelists that were previously on, and I think Kofi and Quincy was having a back and forth initially, so we can kind of start there, and we can just open up some general dialogue. If it needs to be moderated, I will moderate it. If it doesn't, then I think that we kind of understand where we're at in the conversation to kind of let the conversation flow freely. But yeah, I'll at least start it with you two guys.
Yeah, so let me just respond, and we ain't got to do it back and forth, Kofi, because I ain't a Republican. I'm just not with the bullshit from either party, bro. But look, only thing I wanted to point out was when you said it wasn't an open border, the governor of Texas kept hitting up and reaching out saying, hey, we need y'all help to the Biden administration, to the point where they took matters into their own hands, and they started putting up that barbed wire, that circular barbed wire, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if anybody remembers what the Biden administration's response to that was. Did anybody remember?
Yeah, they blocked it.
I remember the incident. I remember the incident.
Right, and they sent down federal agents to cut the barbed wire down. So I mean, so to sit here and act like it's like they're not like incentivizing folks and kind of like, you know, turning a blind eye. I mean, I've seen a bunch of independent people like pretty much sneak up on the border in the middle of the night and record. And they're loading up buses in the middle of the night. I mean, dude, it's some stuff going on, and this whole idea of every time we point out stuff, people want to dismiss it and call it a right-wing talking point.
Right. Exactly.
I'm like, dude, if the sky's falling, it's falling regardless of who the hell tell you.
Right.
And I guess for me, it's like that's just the part. I'm just kind of tired of this making everything about red and blue, and just hey, look, the truth is the truth is the truth. And black Americans, we really ain't got time to be sitting here picking sides about stuff. We got to accept the truth of what it is, because like I said, the clock ticking on us, bro. The clock is ticking. It is. The clock is ticking on Black America, and we won't be the ones to see it. You know, I don't know how y'all are, but I'm in my early 40s. But it's gonna be our kids that's gonna be affected by this. And the
Yes.
whole time while we picking sides and stuff, these other groups they getting their legs up, they getting resources, they getting everything they want from either party, and we sitting there arguing, trying to pick fights and stuff. And then when it's all said and done, we gonna be like those Tulsa survivors where we died waiting, died hoping that America's gonna do right by us. But it's like, dude, it is what it is, man. What's happening is what's happening. If a Republican said it and it's true, it's still true. You know what I mean? It's not a right wing talking point. And this is where I'm close at. I've always felt that a lot of what goes on in America that goes against Black Americans, I always feel like we're kind of muffled or kind of like a silence of shame to not speak about it, because if we speak about it, whatever the point is, say like this immigration thing, right? It used to be a time where we couldn't even talk about this as Black Americans, because why? Because it was a right-wing talking point, right? So I feel like a lot of stuff that really negatively affects us, we can't even speak about it, because honestly, and the truth is the truth. A lot of those points, even though they're true, they have been hijacked by the Republicans and used for nefarious reasons. So even if it is true for us, we won't even want to come out and say it, because we'll sound like a Republican. So we just kind of suffer in silence. Like I said, my family member who don't want to talk, who's a teacher, she don't want to talk about how all these little Mexican kids messing up the schools, because if you say that out loud, you sound like a Republican. That's a right-wing talking point. So I'm gonna just leave that right there. Like I said, I ain't trying to go no back and forth with Kofi, man, but the truth is the truth, and it just is what it is, man.
All right, so let me respond to that. It's going to be real quick. I'm not. We more agree than disagree. There's nothing really you said that I disagree. The reason why I'm saying is a right wing talking point. The only people that say, I'm talking specifically when you say open border, when there's no such thing as an open border. What you are saying that when Joe Biden was president, he disbanded ICE. He disbanded the border patrol, which is not true. That is a right wing talking point. And like you said, the truth is the truth, no matter who says it. And independents don't say that. You know what I'm saying? Well, independents didn't start that trope that the border's open. That's what I'm referring to. Everything else you said, I agree with, right? But we have to be honest as far as like why the border is a problem right now is because of Donald Trump, who's not running. And we're not going to pretend that Donald Trump is not pulling the strings in the Republican Party. So they're going to do whatever Donald Trump says, and that's why the border right now is the way it is. Everything that you're saying in the beginning, that the Democrats were being very lazy and lackadaisical about the border, you're right. I'm independent, so I'll call out the Republicans and the Democrats. You're absolutely right, but I'm saying you can't blame what's going on currently right now on the Democrats. It's all on the Republicans because they didn't want to sign the border bill. That's all that I'm saying.
But Kofi, aren't the Democrats in office right now? How can you not blame the people that are in the office right now?
Now, so I'm going to take the conversation a little bit further. Now, Joe Biden wants to do a bipartisan agreement. Maybe he's playing on two-dimensional chess. It's like, hey, look,
this is Bible,
I'm
man.
not. Hold on.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? I could do an executive order and close the border. If it's really that bad, yeah, that's a fair.
It is that bad, man. They let people in, and people being killed by illegal immigrants.
Hold on. So that's fair, right? But also, you're not going to negate the fact that the Republicans didn't want to do it. So maybe it's to make the Republicans look bad, which is also political. But you just can't. The thing why I say where people are very one-sided is Democrats. If you keep blaming on the Democrats, you sound like you're, you know what I'm saying, indirectly saying that the Republicans is good. I'm saying they both effed up on the border, right? But as of right now, currently, it is the Republicans bad. That is why we're going through what we're going through right now. That's just the facts. You could beat up on the Democrats all you want about them not doing it, and that's a very good point. Joe Biden, okay, like I talk to a lot of freaking black Republicans, right? And they'll say like, Trump's gonna do the platinum plan. He's president right now. Why don't he do it now? He ain't doing shit now. He's doing that as a political campaign. If Kamala Harris was to come out right now and say, you know what, I'm giving all your reparations, I'll say she's lying. I don't believe that. Why? It's the political thing. But I can say, because I'm not one-sided. I know both parties not going to do it, because guess what?
If she was giving Chinese people reparations, you would believe that, though, right?
Chinese reparations for what?
Exactly. Anybody but us. If she was giving black people reparations,
The
hell
question
no,
is,
you would never believe that.
why would Chinese people get reparations for what?
I'm gonna switch the subject. I want to go back to what you said. You said nobody. You said nobody's worried about the Mexican, right? The Chinese, the Arab, the Hindus, nobody, right?
No, I said they're
What you
not.
gonna-
No, they're not worried about
I got
immigration
you.
because they got
No
their
immigrant
bag.
is worried about another immigrant. I get you because you're all in the same bucket. Crabs, right?
No, that's not what I
What you
said.
gotta realize, what you have to
I said
realize
that
is
they
this,
don't
man.
care because they got their bag. They got their bag.
Okay,
And they
I'm
work
about to break
together
it
as
down
a
for you.
community.
Yeah,
So they
I hear
don't
you,
see
man.
they don't see other
I'm about to
people
break it
messing up
down
their
for you.
bag.
Listen, G, we at a point we don't care about no party. We want the money, nigga. It don't matter what no red, blue, Republican. That's you, and of course you independent, nigga. You dual allegiance. You left your country,
right?
So you have no stance anywhere. You got 2 feet in the ground on both
You
places.
left your crack house. So what are you talking about? Why
Hey, fellas.
Hold on, so look,
So
I ain't
hold
being
on.
disrespectful.
No,
Tell them to
I
calm
get
down.
it.
I'm about to finish what I'm saying, though.
But let me pause both of y'all really quickly. Again, those are after show activities y'all are doing. I need just listen for a second. Listen for a second. And I got you. Just listen for a second. I don't take nothing. Just listen for a second. Right now, let's stay to concept. Let's stay away from ad hominem. Let's not direct anything to each other because we know where that can devolve into. And listen, there's later times for later times, but let's stay to concept real quick. Family, it's on you.
All right, bet. I mean, I was just responding back to everything that he said, breaking it down like it's nothing.
Go ahead.
So if that's ad hominem, I feel it, man. But
No.
this is what I'm saying,
say
right?
him specifically, like when you be like,
Well, I'm talking
you
about
have
everything that he said. He said nobody is worried about the Mexican, and I agree with him. He said he's an independent. I agree with him, right?
Gotcha.
This is how I process what he's saying to me. If that's all right with you.
Again,
Now,
I have
this
no
is what
problem.
I'm saying. My people want the money. We don't give a damn about none of y'all like that. And of course, y'all don't care about nobody. But you know who are y'all worried about? Who y'all keeping in y'all mouth? Niggas. You know why? Because all y'all need is the dumb Mexican need us. Everybody make their bread and butter in our neighborhood. All y'all got to come through us. So of course you don't care about each other. You care about us. And you don't want us to win. Just admit that.
Yeah.
We still gonna win, nigga. It's over with. Ain't nothing you can do to stop it. I'm done.
No one's afraid of crackheads, man. It's all right, man.
I know you're not. You ran from the crackheads in Jamaica, didn't you? You scared of some kind of crackheads.
No one's afraid of Tyrone Bingham's eating chocolate.
Kofi, but like, let's.
That's all he look. He ain't got nothing else. That's how weak he is. He ain't got nothing else. No solution.
If we can't adhere away from.
Why you keep saying we? That's him. You know he's a buster.
So what I'm saying, we as a full panel. That's all I care about is making sure the quality.
You said the fool on the panel, or you said the full panel? My bad, I ain't hear you.
Listen, you quick and good with it. I get what you're doing. My
Let me stop messing with you, G. I got you. I be messing with you, man. I got you.
Oh no, I get it. I'm not. Yeah, again.
Man, hold on. I gotta talk to this African again, man. What is you doing? You trying to kick us some dust?
I just need you to wait for a quick second. Fellas, let's stay to the actual point for a second. All right, Kofi, I'm gonna try and bring you up again. Again, we're gonna stay away from like elementary
Why
school.
you keep bringing him up to talk?
What Kamu talking about?
Go ahead, Kamu.
You talking about if you American and not a prisoner of war? You got some type of problem, nigga. We'll smack your ass back down into the dirt you came from. What you talking about? And so what if we Americans? What you gonna do about it? Make your ass a prisoner of war.
So, I understand the pain, bro. Like, we have a similar.
This ain't no pain. This ain't no pain. I understand your pain. We got to be weak like you for us for you to accept that.
We gotta give niggas the floor. We gotta give niggas the floor. We gotta give niggas the floor.
Hey, family, bro. You specifically, I don't care about you, bro. I'm talking about my brothers and sisters.
You don't care about South Africa. You already renounced it. You don't care about nothing. You was a nothing.
Fellas, again, we can't have like any version of a audible conversation if everybody's talking.
We got to put y'all on the weight room if you keep cutting niggas off.
Okay, thank you. So I care about Africans, bro. as I'm saying, I understand the pain. We have a similar issue here. We have all of these brothers and sisters who are coming from different parts of the continent, coming here, building themselves up. Some of them are doing well, are doing way better than us, and there's a level of discomfort when you see someone who doesn't come from where you come from and come to the country that you built and doing better than you. I understand that part, and to a certain degree, I sympathize with brothers and sisters in America who feel that immigration doesn't do them, any well. But in a greater, on a much grand scale, I want you to look at the bigger picture, that you are not in charge. And as such, you should think as a person who's not in charge.
Uh-oh.
Fact. I understand I don't know what's going on, but I understand what Kamu was saying. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, Kamu, he's not saying you have to renounce your American citizenship. He's basically saying that knowing the history of Black people in America, right? I'll say it again. Chris Rock said Black people and relationship with America is like you gotta look at them at the uncle that molested you but paid your way through college, right?
Man, you so disrespectful. Neither one of y'all built anything. We built the country.
I'm not.
The
Anyway,
hell, that South African ain't do nothing. Look, there's a nothing ass people. You was a nothing ass nigga too. The hell you built over there? You picked Kane. You ain't build nothing, nigga.
Court tomorrow? Why you up so late? Like, shut
I
up.
got my own business. I ain't got tether patrol like you.
Yes. You carjacking people. You in Detroit? You in Maryland, right? Or Detroit? Because my
You was
cousin
a
got
mush mouth
carjacked
fake
by
New
someone like
Yorker.
you.
Where you at?
My cousin got carjacked by someone just like you. That's how you get money.
And he probably was a Jamaican.
All right,
yeah.
So fellas, Quincy,
why you
TBI,
do that, bro?
Hey man,
again, like we're just trying to make sure
we
that
gotta
we
save
have
it for the after show for
that's
them
what I feel
because
like
it's too
their
fiery.
spaces
They
that
was
it
about
makes
to
sense
get
and it
there though.
doesn't
They
make
was
sense.
about to. I think they was about to get there.
Get to a bigger argument. TBI, talk to us. And fellas, I'm gonna bring y'all back up, but like let's not we're going to again
to
not
fair,
get to the point where we're just hurling insults. I know y'all love it, but that's
has it,
not
man.
specifically what the show is. And we set clear rules and we do have to adhere to them. As simple as that. TBI.
Yeah, no, I think
and then we'll go to Quincy.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of going back to the point, like you say, immigration is definitely super negative towards Black Americans specifically. And I think with these conversations, that's why tempers flare, because it's really that serious, man, especially for Black Americans. Like, they're really trying to push us out. So that's why you see so much, I guess, vigor when it comes to some of these things. And we'll have people that have dual alliances speaking on our issues and trying to tell us what to do when they haven't accomplished a lot in their homelands, and they're not running anything, and they're the majority. So it's like, that's why you kind of get these back and forths, and it's so heated, because it's like, hey, we built this country. They're putting people over us on purpose. We seeing it day by day, and it's like if we don't wake up, it can be too late. It's only so many resources out there, and these people are coming to take resources and give them to their people and things like that. So it's like it's definitely a serious issue, and you look at little things like, even like, to go a little bit deeper, like not just immigration, but you even see things with our music forms and things like that. Like, they had something with hip hop when they were trying to say it was 50-50. And it's like little things like that. They're trying to claw away a little bit at a time. And before we know it, it's going to be too late. So definitely I'll wake up.
Gotcha. Quincy.
Yeah, and let me just to piggyback off what I was saying earlier about how, like, Black people are kind of like silenced. Like, we're kind of forced to suffer in silence, right? And to a certain degree, like with as far as immigration and how it affects Black people and the future, the outlook of it. One thing that does need to be established, because it's not right now, is that, like, when white people do stuff, like, we've done the battles with white folks. We could call them out. There's no qualms about calling out white people when they do stuff to Black folks, right? We could do it. We've been doing it. There's no taboo to it, right? But think about how in LA, how much have you really heard like black people from LA, public black people, call out how the Latinos been doing them over there? How much have you really heard folks up in New York talk about how they've been, the Black Americans in New York, call out how other groups have been doing them, like publicly too? In the same manner that we call out white folks for doing us wrong, we don't have the freedom. Especially I don't know if y'all heard about Miami. Them white Cubans down in Miami, it's like crazy. But we don't have the freedom to call out like other groups for their racism against us in the same way we do with white people, right? And so that's so me. I'm just more so thinking about just the future and how, like, if not if the world is going to, America is going that route as far as being like they say the browning of America, where like it's gonna be more mixed babies and more, just more from everybody everywhere else. But the big thing is, if they do us wrong, do we have the freedom to call them out? And I'm just giving you one quick example. I got a friend that works in IT. He got an Indian manager, right? The manager unapologetically hired like nothing but other Indians. Unapologetically, right? It wasn't even, you know how on a test you would pick a wrong answer just to try to fake it a little bit? Didn't even fake it. Just straight down the line, hired nothing but Indians, right? Now, any other scenario, if that was a white guy hiring all white people, or we could call it out, go to HR, say, hey, look, there's some discriminatory stuff going on. Like, this don't even reflect the city. But because it was an Indian, my partner, he couldn't, like, what do you say to HR? Hey, the Indian hiring too many Indians.
I don't want to cape for Indians.
That's still discrimination.
I don't want to cape for Indians. However, there is a disproportionate amount of Indians investing in, say, these types of careers relative to other populations. One, and I live in an area where it's a heavy South Asian influence, and it's not, say, out of the norm that the engineering department will look like that. Like, it's not an abnormal thing in America, is one of the things I would say, that just based off of the breakdown. Hey, let me hop in really, really quickly. So we probably have about 14 minutes left. So what I do want to do is give everybody about 2 minutes of time to kind of wrap up their full thoughts. Y'all can go kind of where you want to. Obviously, everybody understands the prompt and what a conversation has evolved to. But we'll kind of go straight down the line. So we'll start with G in 2 minutes. So of course, Quincy, you can unpack what you was going to respond with during that time. G. Oh, I can let the guests get theirs off. Pause.
Okay. All right, Quincy.
Yeah. So just real quick, Fortune 500 companies, they actually sponsor H-1B visas for a lot of them Indians to come over here, right? Like, so it's no surprise that there's a lot of Indians that come over here. And just keep it a buck with you, a lot of them Indians don't even really know. They're not even as educated as advertised, right? And they stick together. They stick together, and they show each other the ropes when they get hired on. So I get what you're saying, but it's a whole thing behind it. The same way they say with the Caribbeans and the healthcare industry, it's a whole thing going on when it comes to like Indians and the IT industry. So so I get what you're saying, but it's not as simple as they over-index. Because I live in a city where it's like I'm in Georgia, right? It's all kind of HBCUs. It's all it's black folks graduating by the thousands in IT in Georgia, right? So if an Indian is hiring Indians and it's nothing but Indians in Georgia, come on, man, come on, like I said, if that was a white guy who hired nothing but white people, I mean, we would clearly see the problem. It wouldn't be no, hey, well, there's a lot of white people in IT, which it is, but that wouldn't be an acceptable response. We say, what's the demographics of the city? Does the hiring practices reflect the graduation class, or the percentages of the people who hired? It's a whole rundown. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I get what you're saying, man, but it's a whole ordeal behind it. You know what I mean? And it's not just but that goes into what I'm saying, where
30 seconds.
Okay. Bottom line, it just goes into what I'm saying about. It's easy to call it out when it's white people. We know it, we see it, we recognize it. We don't make excuses for it. We jump in and we get corrective action when it's white people, but when it comes to other groups, let it be Mexicans in construction, Indians in IT, then it's a little bit of hemming and hawing and kind of giving the benefit of the doubt, or you just don't want to say nothing because you don't want to seem like a right-wing Republican or a black versus whatever racist. So that's all.
Appreciate it, Quincy. Trey.
Muted.
Quincy, TBI for the family, man. Y'all is so on code, bro. And I think we have a very small amount, percentage wise, of Black Americans who are that way, compared to other groups who are very quick to look out for their own look and put themselves first. So I don't know what it's going to take, but we need to have more people who are unapologetically put their people first. Like, even if there is some argument that we can make for another group, forget that, man. We don't care. Like, we need to be unapologetically for our people. If I feel you're making a good point where they do prioritize IT, but Black first, bro. Like,
I don't disagree, but I'll let you get yours off. I'll let you get yours off.
I mean, that's pretty much. I don't want to take away from that point because my
We
main
just gotta
thing is
separate and isolate, G. That's all we got to do, man.
because it's the dead weight of people who are not on code will be like the detriment to the collective, to where they're more dangerous to the Black collective than even any foreigner or any white supremacist could be, because we could fight all these people or fight back about all these people if we could just unite and be on code. But if we can't, like, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. And that comes from within, and that needs to be dealt with first.
All right,
Hey, you think we're willing to cut off our hand to save our arm, our body?
Hey,
That's what it's gonna take. That's what we gotta do.
I'm coming to you after Johnny. Johnny, go ahead. You got 2 minutes.
Muted.
Hey, we can't hear you, brother.
No, I want to say I appreciate everybody for calling in. I think it was fruitful conversation. I definitely think this is a crisis. It might not be a crisis as far as like we're able to see the results or the effects immediately, but I think it's a crisis as far as action is needed, and it's something that has to be discussed. And if we don't, we'll only exacerbate the issue. And I think we're kind of on the right track. I think that Black first perspective, that FPA perspective, will help us. But yeah, like I said, I think it's definitely an issue. I mean, I think it's intentional by them, and we're gonna have to figure out how to vote and who's gonna handle this the best way for us.
Got it. For the family, talk to us. 2 minutes.
Cool. I think any divorce is hard, man. You go through all the stuff, but once it's over, it's over. We just it's a severance packet now. Now you can have the white people. You had us, you abused us. Now you can have us. Get it how you live. And as far as these immigrants, if you ever been to college, the Africans, they cheat. They all take the same class path on the test. The Asians do the same thing. The Indians do the same thing. These niggas are not smart. These niggas dumb, man. Don't play me.
He not lying.
That shit dumb, man. I mean, y'all be trying to dance around it. Them niggas is dumb. All right, that's it, man. Y'all be cool, man. Hey, family, for real though. All jokes aside, man, we gotta get our shit together, man, because it's gonna come to a crossroads, man. We're gonna have to part ways. And I'm talking to just my people. Y'all be smooth, man.
All right, brother.
Hey, appreciate you, bro.
TBI.
I mean, just kind of second everybody, man. I think, like what Trey was saying about being on code, I think a lot of people don't really know what on code is. I think Black Americans are like the most on code Black people, but these other groups come over here and they're like super on code. They look for, because basically on code, the definition of it is doing what's best for your people first. That's where Black Americans have missed it. We've been trying to work with Mexicans and people from the diaspora first, And once they get to a certain point, they start looking down on us. It's like, hold on, bro, we helped you. Like we was trying to, and that's been a big mistake that we've done. And that's the same thing with this immigration. We have to look at it as like a super threat. Like these people trying to come over and like replace us. Really, basically, they trying to. Because I think from a Democrat point, this is my perspective on it. They're seeing that Black Americans are waking up and saying like, "Hey, we're not getting them for voting," and they're like, "Okay, they waking up, so let's flood the zone with these illegal immigrants," and then they're going to be our new voter base since these people then finally woke up. We've been able to get them to vote without doing that for them. Now they really asking for something. So it's like, we're not going to give them something. So now let's get these immigrants in here and then flood the zone and prioritize them over them. So that's exactly what's happening. We got to wake up and stop with this kumbaya, man. These people look at it as war. It's like, hey, we going to do what's best for our people, and we got to take on that mindset. And that's what foundational Black Americans are doing. It's like, hey, we focus on us. We need to get us first, and then maybe we can connect way down the road. But right now, it's only about us. So we've been too inclusive. Now we got to be exclusive to get where we need to go.
Gotcha. Kofi, talk to us, brother.
Yeah, like I said, I pretty much agree with everyone when saying that immigration is an American problem, but we know when America has a cold, Black people have the flu. So I do understand the knee-jerk reactions as far as like what's coming down the pipe is not good for us. But I'm gonna speak truthfully. I think the whole panic here with FBA here right now, the FBA, not all Black Americans, obviously not, but the people that call themselves FBA are just low educated, don't know anything about basic history and things of that nature. So what it is right now is that they are so unready and unprepared that it's panic mode now. They don't got their shit together. So what they're going to do is attack other people and say, you know what, we just need to get rid of the competition. That's why we got people, FBA demonizing other groups of people. Right, it has nothing to do with their ability or inability. I'm not saying there's not, what's happening. The immigration is not going to. And if I don't see it so far, he's still here though. And I'm talking. I didn't cut him off. Right. So.
Oh, was it?
And this is how we're gonna play it, right? If I say something, that
we gotta start ignoring it, bro. Like, why are we even paying attention?
Fellas, come on. Let's finish the show. We
have
right
no
here.
Anyway, so, and there's this false narrative they're giving that Black Americans, even on not Dr. Claude, Dr. Professor Paul said that we should have did that. But y'all making believe that we take it from you. You don't have anything. When immigrants,
Black Americans are the richest Black people on earth. What are you talking about?
Hey,
what are you talking about?
Hey, allow him to finish out this point. You got 20 seconds.
Yeah.
You don't have anything. You don't have shit. When people come here, they work to have. There's no welcome.
Why are we the richest Black people on earth then? Why are we the richest Black people on earth?
Again, Kofi, you got 15 seconds. Allow him to finish out his point.
Finish the disrespect, Kofi.
How am I keep getting cut off every time he takes away 5 seconds?
Being disrespectful,
no,
bro.
I'm not. I'm giving you 5 seconds every single time.
With your shit too, but I don't say nothing.
Now we derail into something that's not even like.
Again, yes.
People not respecting my time. Y'all said a lot of bullshit, but I stay
quiet. You're being disrespectful.
Hey, but Kofi. Again, every time I did that, I gave you an extra 5 seconds. I'm not taking away 5. You talked for a little bit, they derailed, so I gave you an extra 5. That's what did happen. That was me. But go ahead and finish off your last 15 so we can finish it. I'm trying to make sure you do finish. Go ahead.
So this is what I'm hearing. So it sounds like you mad at the white man and mad at other people and mad at yourself because you don't got your shit together. So you blame other people.
I ain't got our shit together, but you in my country, bro.
Dr. Claude said that we have not moved an iota since Reconstruction. That's what Dr. Claude said. That's not what I'm saying. So when I think about that, and I think about this FBA narrative, which has a lot of MAGA narratives and stuff like that, this all makes sense to me. And that's pretty much all that I got.
Gotta let Kamu go. Kamu, you got about a minute and
I gotta jump in there too, Q. I gotta jump in there just for like 30 seconds.
Hey, understand we only got a minute left.
G can go. It's okay.
I just want to say, like, as it relates to our people, our community, that's one of the big reasons I emphasize the importance of STEM focus backgrounds because we aren't controlling those areas. Whereas if you go to the country of India, there's like a clear intention to get folks involved in those areas. And then you see that translate over here in the States. And so for us domestically, one thing we could do for our people is push our young folks into these fields so that they can make those hiring decisions. Because I think all of us are in favor of nepotism.
And like that, fellas, this has been Unpacked, presented by the G-ish podcast and the To Be Fair show. We're gonna have these after shows popping pretty soon on this Patreon. But appreciate the panel, appreciate the audience. Peace.